We are recording. You on YouTube. Da 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 da. Continue on YouTube. Share. Copy. Discord. All right. Now get the hell out of YouTube. How do I do that? And exit this whole shit. All right. We are back in the motherfucking house. A little late this week, but none worse for the wear. And we have some guests in this motherfucker. First of all, how's everybody doing today?
Good.
Y'all all right? Y'all all right?
Great.
Dodge, you don't want to speak. You just give me a thumbs up. What the fuck is going on?
It's a method to my madness. It's like don't
The
not too much
energy
of
on-
me.
no,
Thank
it's
you.
the
I love
energy
you.
you give me.
Hi everybody.
I already know when you're on your bullshit. Trom, how you feeling?
Feeling great, man. Everything good. How you?
All right. I'm all right, man. I'm all right. I had a slight emergency yesterday. Most of the So Shameless gang, if you was in the Discord, you you saw the emergency, but whatever. It is what it is. I still haven't told you what's going on, Trom. I might do it on my close friends later on just to see what everybody's thinking. But we are in mixed company right now. And it's so crazy because each and every person in this room I have some sort of a personal relationship with. All right. First of all, I have my nemesis in the room. Nemesis. The nemesis. Melanie Moves. All right. She is. First of all, tell these people like who you are. I know you're a dancer, but you do a lot other things as well. So who the hell is Melanie Moves?
I am a professional dancer and actress in the industry in Los Angeles, but I am extremely politically inclined, always been very politically inclined since college. And so on my social media platform, I do a lot of education on like anti-racist work, gender issues, LGBTQ issues, political issues, and so on and so forth. Just because I think it's really important to like educate the masses. And honestly, most people are stupid as fuck. They fall for too much misinformation and disinformation, and grinds my gears, makes my asshole itch. So in order to relieve the itch, I educate.
Oh my God. And this is what she tries to do all the time. She sends me a million fucking voice notes. She can't, and I didn't even know she was coming with her black beret, guys. I'm telling you, I didn't even know she was coming, man, militant. Because I'm telling you, she was in her closet like this, looking for the black beret.
It was between this or the research over me search snapback. Shout out to Consciously. So. And the beret just fit better. I was like,
when I saw the beret, I was like, I might need to switch up my hat. I got a hat to my left, so I might switch it up in a minute. You know,
she got her black fist
on. I'm with you, sister. Fight the powers that be.
You already know.
I'm telling you right now, yes, very gorgeous, as the people in the comments are saying. Shout out to the No Shame Gang. They are in the building. We are recording live on YouTube right now. Also, I got to go with my brother. I'm going to say this, and I've said this so many times before. My boy, Red Pill, is in the building. This is a man I've known, I want to say, it's got to be over 20 years. It's got to be 25 years, something like that. A man that came to my aid when I was in the most precarious position, gave me game, fit, like really put, I wouldn't say he saved my life because I was in a really bad situation. And he was there for me day by day, gave me mad game, and continuously gives me game. You know, all the way through having children. He had his son. I had my sons. He was there for me the whole time, and to this day, always calls me, looks me out. And he's actually one of the people that put me on to our third guest. But real quick, Red Pill.
Peace.
Who are you, and what the hell are you about?
Peace to the audience and peace to the family out there. Brother Red Pill reporting live and direct. I'm one half of the Twin Pillars. Blue Pill, who is my twin brother, shout out to him, and my brother KT, the arts degree. Right now, we're doing our work in the community, doing a lot of teaching, educating the people, through social media, through different media platforms, through putting out different products and whatnot, helping to heal people, helping to teach people, and just moving the culture forward, adding on, just adding on. That's the best thing. That's the best way to describe it.
Love that, man. I hear a lot of red pill, blue pill conspiracy talk. Are they talking about y'all, or is red? What is the red pill?
Nah. Well, before there was the red pill movement, in Harlem and in the conscious community, I already had that name, red pill and blue pill, being that we're twins and whatnot. Actually, my first name is Philip. And when that breaks down, it's actually red pill. PHI is phi, which is fire, which is red. And LLIP flipped around is pill. So inside my name is my purpose. And as I began to live my purpose, that's when that was revealed to me. So, people say that they have slave names and things of that nature. That's necessarily not the truth. You have to discover yourself in things like just your name. So the whole red pill movement, men going their own way, and the whole thing with it being tied to like the white supremacy, that came later on when they began to take that public domain, which is red pill, which is something that Sophia Stewart, who's the woman who wrote The Matrix, she put that concept of the red and the blue pill in there. And she also was one of the ones who gave us the christening of the name when we started doing our work.
Oh, fire. That's dope. That's dope.
Black woman, right? Sophia is a black woman, correct?
Yeah. So that's a sister. She wrote The Terminator and The Matrix.
Oh, love that.
Sure did.
Love that. I didn't know that. And yes,
she got her money for that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, they definitely tried to Zoe her on that, but she got her bread.
They tried to super Zoe her.
And as I said earlier, red pill put me on to our third guest. As y'all, most of y'all know, I have another podcast, which is a lot more risque. And this young man is heavy in that community doing his work. 100 Days of Summer. Now, as of late, we've seen him transition his content. He does a lot of social media content, primarily focused, or before it was focused a lot on women, but he has locked in on a whole new topic, which is politics. 100 Days of Summer. What's up, my brother? Tell us about yourself and what your purpose is right now.
Okay, so most people know me for teaching men how to give women orgasms. That's like the thing that got me the most popular, whatever. But right before I was doing that, I was actually doing politics. I started doing it just because I saw a lot of manipulation. It was making me upset, and I just wanted to share the information. And the fact that people rejected it, it just made me want to keep going. So yeah, I ended up doing that for about 2 years. Learned a little bit about politics, switched back to the sex stuff, and now I switched back to the politics because I felt like, the sex stuff on some real shit, it got boring to me, and I wanted a bit of a challenge. So I like the response that I'm getting in my comments now. So yeah, I just like to challenge people's beliefs and stuff. So yeah, that's where I'm at.
My boy, and you are challenging them. You going hard with it too. It's crazy that you say that you like the responses you get in your comments. I mean, is it more pro what you're saying, more negative what you're saying? Like, what is
it's more negative?
It's more negative.
It's more negative, yeah. But it's like, I think Mark Twain said it, like, when everybody's on your side, you should like pause and reflect. Like I hate it when I have a bunch of people agreeing with me. It makes me want to challenge them, find a way to offend them somehow. But yeah, so that's what I do.
My boy said I thrive off negativity.
It's about it.
She's a famous meme, right? Well,
I just also want to stamp that I'm only here for the jokes. I got nothing for y'all. Thank you.
It is gonna be.
I got you. I got you. I got you.
For my
It is gonna be
libations.
a very interesting episode today. As most of y'all can see, let me see if I can hide it. This is the Road to 2024 presidential election. I guess platform. I don't know. Panel. Right? Everybody here has their own. We Traum and I, we went through everybody's social media. We were thinking, people that don't necessarily disagree, that don't necessarily agree on topics. Everybody kind of has their own stance. And we wanted to give everybody a platform to share information, to combat disinformation, and then to, I guess, debate each other on, your views. Now, me personally, I I'm not as well politically inclined. I kind of know. I read, I read the blogs on the internet. I watch CNN from time to time, which is probably way more leaning one way than the other. And I watch Fox from time to time, which is also leaning more one way than another, in my opinion.
Right.
So Trump, actually, who is a little bit more politically inclined, came up with a bunch of questions. He actually, going to be today's moderator. I'm going to control the convo, try to get y'all not to argue. You know what I'm saying? I do want to say, I don't want to have to mute nobody, right? Let's be respectful, Melanie.
Yo, if you say my name again, I'm gonna hop on the next flight and I'm gonna.
I don't want no problems.
I literally been quiet this whole time until you spoke to me.
I don't want no problem, but we do know that's not going to stay that way. We do know that. Okay. If anything, we know that. Okay. Trom, I will go ahead and hand you the floor to start the debate.
So peace, everybody. So a lot of this came out of curiosity. Tahoe and I talking, and obviously it's a presidential election year, and it's been an interesting year of politics. Biden dropping out, Kamala running, Trump coming at it again, RFK dropping out, third party candidates. There's a lot of chatter on social media. Black people in general have been divided, but we more worried about our Black and brown folks right here. And there's a lot of division. There's a lot of different talks and beliefs going on. And we just kind of wanted to have a room where we could have an honest and open dialogue, right? Unfortunately, a lot of times on social media, the dialogue is not filled with intelligence. So we wanted to have an intelligent conversation where we exchange our thoughts, and that's it. We're not trying to sway anybody to vote one way or the other. We just kind of want to have a good conversation. So that being said, I'm going to start with our first question, which is to each of our guests here. How would you describe your political stance? What political party do you represent, if any? Please share your views on the candidates running for president this year, who you're thinking of voting for, and why.
Melanie, you can go ahead and take the stage.
All right. I would describe myself as pretty far left. I'm not as far left as like anarchism, but I'm pretty close. I am still registered as a Democrat. I voted Democrat since college, since Obama was the first president I got to vote for. But in the past, like maybe 3-4 years, I've been more so leaning more left, meaning leaning more to third party candidates. And the third party candidate that I will likely vote for is Cornel West. He mostly aligns with most of my ideals. I'm also realistic and extremely pragmatic. So realistically speaking, being as though he's not on every ballot in every state, and most of the states he's only write-in only, I don't think that Cornel West is going to win the presidential election. And if I had to choose between the two likely candidates, I do think that Kamala Harris is more qualified than Donald Trump. But I don't think that Kamala Harris is as left as the right wants to make her seem. Kamala Harris is actually a centrist. First and foremost, she's a capitalist, so she could not be a leftist. Let's be fucking for real. Y'all make her sound so cool. So she's a centrist, and even in this particular campaign that she's throwing, many of her views actually more align with the right than they do with the left, which makes sense if she is running to try to unite the nation and try to reach across the aisle and so on and so forth. So no, she is not far left. She's a centrist that sometimes goes right and sometimes goes left. Yeah, that was it, right? Did you have anything else?
No, that's it for
now. Red Pill, give me your view. What is your political stance, and what do you think about the candidates?
Yeah, interestingly enough, I have similar views than our last speaker. That Cornel West is somebody who I have on my radar that I see as qualified to actually, to receive my vote. I'm very mindful of the fact that who I vote for is going to be it's me casting my agreement with their policies. I'm in alignment. It's somewhat like if they have blood on their hands, then I'm responsible for that blood as well. And when I look at both candidates, the Biden administration with Kamala as a part of that, what they've been doing over there in the Middle East, along with other things, I definitely can't put my support behind that. And then when you look at Trump, I don't have amnesia. I'm fully aware of a lot of the carnage that was taking place during his last 4 years, and some of the things that he does that are very egregious towards just the citizens, in terms of him executing a lot of innocent people, the militarization of the police. I don't have faith in either administration coming in. I'm aware of the fact that he might not win, but when it comes to what I stand for, I'm going to go with what he stands for. It's in the it's in more alignment with what I stand for than what those two are standing on.
I love that. I actually love that. I do. I would ask another question, but I'm gonna get Lou a chance to speak on his political views. What is your political stance, and what do you think of the candidates today?
I'm not affiliated with any party. I do like Trump. I like the personality of Trump and like the symbolism of Trump, what he stands for and stuff like that. But as far as politics, me personally, I think that the pursuit of political power has betrayed Black people specifically, and that human capital is what we should focus on, and that would get us all the power that we actually are looking for. But I like Trump. I do think Kamala is Marxist, which to me is far left, but we'll talk about that later. But I'm not affiliated with any party. I think it's wrong to have group identity, so I don't want to be on necessarily any team, because then it kind of locks you in from thinking with nuance. So I like Trump, not really for the Republicans, not really for the Democrats. I don't like the political establishment. I'm more so like populist candidates. I like those guys more. That'd be my stance.
I like that. I like that. Trom,
Yes.
you got anywhere you want to take that?
So I want to go right back to 100 with that. I did a little bit of digging on your Instagram, and you do have a lot of political posts. You inspire a lot of thought and conversation. You tend to be pretty critical of the Democrats vocally, although you are critical of both parties, but more so the Democrats. For those that are not familiar with your page, why are you more critical of Democrats versus Republicans?
Well, it's like all the negative stuff about Republicans I kind of grew up knowing without even having to do the research and stuff. It's just like common conversations that you end up, old head come pull you to the side and school you on some game, and then you realize, oh, okay, this is that. And then those things, right? The Reagan stuff with the crack, or the CIA and the FBI assassinating people, stuff like that. All those types of things. What I didn't know was the negative things about the Democrats. Those things were eye-opening to me, like in a way that it's new information feels good when you learn it. So you kind of become obsessed with uncovering things. So to me, I became obsessed with it. I thought it was fascinating. So I wanted to share that information, because those are the people that we vote for. We don't vote for the other side. The
Right.
people that we voted for at least 87 years, I think it is, have been Democrats exclusively. They're the only people that we really have to hold accountable, because they're the ones that have kind of owned our vote. So I feel like the people that we have to be disillusioned from are them, not necessarily the Republicans, because people already dislike them. The people the ones that we kind of run to as our help, is the Democrats. And I feel like if people understood these things, then they would be more strategic with their vote, as opposed to just kind of being anti-Republican.
Now, Hunter, while I got you on stage, I did see a post that you posted the other day, and it says, the moment you realize the Democrats started the KKK, Jim Crow, redlining, mass incarceration, replaced Black fathers, and still got 90% of the Black vote in 2020. That's a very interesting post that you put up. Does anybody have anything they want to say about that? Do y'all disagree? Do y'all agree?
I want to add on
Go ahead, Bill.
that you could see the effectiveness of our people as a people when we were underneath the banner of Republicans. If anybody was to do simple research, you would find out that we had power in what is now known as the Deep South. It was taken away from us during the what they call the Wilmington Massacre, but it was really the Wilmington coup d'etat. The only coup d'etat on American soil was in 1898 in Wilmington, North Carolina, when they overturned the black Republicans and what is known as the fusion government and the Democrats. We call them the Democrats, not the Democrats, but the Democrats. They took over the political system in Wilmington, and then that began to topple other black governments. Henceforth, it was the birth of what we know as the deep state or the deep South, or that good old boy network that runs the South and whatnot. Started in Wilmington, and then of course you see things like Black Wall Street, Rosewood, all of these massacres and all of these incursions and whatnot, or insurrections. But we were all Republicans when we had our own banks. We were Republicans when we had hospitals, when we were building institutions in these black towns. It wasn't just Black Wall Street. You have Oscarville, you have Rosewood, you have Black Wall Street. There was about 20 to
Seneca
30
Village.
Seneca Village, thriving communities where we governed ourselves. We were not we understand we were in the republic. We were Republicans. They were a part of the republic. Our money was gold and silver. It was not fiat and whatnot. We were not in this technology that we're in right now. So it's really just a lot of us waking up and breaking these spells and whatnot. And the government is responsible for tricking a lot of our people. Like Hunnit said, it's the ones that you trust the most that could do you the dirtiest.
I kind of wanted to interject. I think some of the things that you guys are saying are obviously objectively true, but what you're missing is that there was a party switch, and a lot of people don't want to admit that was happening. So
Right.
yes, originally the Republican Party was the more liberal, more progressive party in the North before the Civil War, and so on and so forth. They fought for the eradication of slavery and so on and so forth. And the Democrats were more conservative, and they gradually switched. And then, so I don't even like to speak on Republican Democrat. I prefer to speak on like ideologies. So the conservatives were always this, the liberals and the progressives were always that. No matter what their name is, these people were liberals and these people were conservative at the end of the day. So while not acknowledging the party switch and saying some nonsense like under the Democrats used to, and we were Republicans, without acknowledging that there was an ideology switch within the parties, I think is a little disingenuous. I think today, obviously, both parties are, in my opinion, centrists. Obviously, but then the right has a cohort of far right, and the left does have more so center left that are in the Democratic Party, but the far left is not supportive of the Democratic Party. And if you were in the far left, you would know that we don't like to be labeled as Democrats or as liberals, because we're not liberals, we're progressives at the end of the day. So I just think that people just need to do a little bit more education in that. And at the end of the day, a lot of people will say that like the Democrats and the Republicans are, two wings of the same bird. I don't necessarily like to say that, because I also think that is disingenuous, right? I like to say that, the Democrats and the Republicans are the same species of bird, different colors, right? Like one's a pigeon, one's a dove. A lot of people don't know that a dove and a pigeon are literally the same species as bird, but a dove and a pigeon is the same species of bird, quite literally. And this is kind of like the way I like to view it. And one of the reasons why I say that they're not the same is because you do see that a lot of more of the progressive policies are being passed and upheld by the Democratic Party over the the Republican Party. At the end of the day, we can even take, for instance, what happened yesterday with Marcellus Williams and the Supreme Court not granting him any leniency, and who voted for what. The Democratic Supreme Justices wanted to grant him clemency, or wanted to grant him, a stay of his execution. And the Republican Supreme Court Justices said, no, he still must be executed. that right there in and of itself kind of shows that at the end of the day, there are more progressive leaning in the Democratic Party than in the Republican Party at the end of the day.
Dodge, you had something that you wanted to say?
Me and Melanie, we were basically of like mind, and all I would really wanted to stamp was the fact that the parties did switch. So I do think it was a little bit disingenuous to make it seem like we voted Democrat this whole entire time, but it definitely did switch. And around in and about around the 1950s, 1960s. So that's all I wanted to say. At this point, I'm not saying anybody is right and anybody is wrong, but there are facts. And me being the moderate that I am, like I'm always gonna kind of be a little bit in the middle. But I think Melanie also made a great point when she said like the extreme left, the progressives, they do not rock with the Democrats. Like I don't know like who told anybody any different. Like as a Democrat, as a moderate Democrat, I know that for a fact because even for me, some of the policies and the thought processes of the extreme left, the progressives, I'm just like, I was still raised by Southern people. Like I was still raised with some of these conservative ideologies, and I don't know if I can take it that far, but I respect everybody's opinion.
Trom, you got anything you want to put into that?
Yeah, so I just want to add another question. Actually, I'm not going to speak too much in my opinion because y'all are doing great. Y'all are nailing everything. So we talked about Democrats pretty much being the party of liberal thoughts, right? And that is mostly what's been aligned with social issues and racial issues that can probably help Black people progress. Why would you? So, from the stance of helping the Black community, please explain why your candidate or your party would be best aligned to help the Black community if elected. I want to start with Hunted because I know you're leaning towards Trump. Why do you think Trump would be the best candidate for Black people? And before you answer that, for Red Pill and Melanie, why? I know you both are interested in the third party candidate. Do you believe that Black people as a whole should support third party candidates, or do you think that that might kill our chances of defeating Trump? And basically, supporting a third party is giving Trump the election. So I want to hear all of your thoughts on that. I want to start with Hunted. Do you think Trump is in the best interest of the Black community?
No, not necessarily. I don't think any politician is in the best interest of the Black community. That's what I was saying earlier about political capital. I think that's it's self-sabotage to seek political capital because it hasn't really served us to this point. Like Brother Red Pill was saying, when we were securing human capital, that's when we had everything. Once we started seeking political capital, then we lost everything. So I don't think that any politician.
I don't mean to interrupt. Could you expound on what you mean by human capital?
Human capital is just like skills, behaviors, habits, and stuff like that, like cultural habits and stuff. Like we have stereotypes of, say, for example, first generation Asians, Nigerians, Indians, like the professions that they're going to be in and how strict their parents are and work ethic and study habits and stuff like that. Like that's their human capital. So those are the things that we focused on before we started seeking political power, which made us.
You mean skill sets that can be monetized is what you mean?
Well, yeah, skill sets and behaviors that basically push the group upward. You know what I mean? Like the political power, it took away from that. So I don't necessarily believe that any politician is best for the Black race. I like that Trump has created a thing that makes people question the party they've been so loyal to. I like that.
So, all right, I don't want to let you off the hook that easily because you said you're leaning towards Trump. So yeah. I really want to understand why, and why do you think he's the best fit for the Black community, or is this just your personal thoughts and you don't think that he's the best candidate? I'm not saying that any one of those candidates are great for the Black community, but why does he have your votes?
What I would interject, and just to clear that up, is say, why would you support Trump if you know he particularly isn't best for the Black community?
No, it's not that I don't think that I don't think that he's negative for the black community. I just don't think that any politician is supposed to be for the black community. I don't think that that's how we should be looking at politicians. That's just not how I judge them. Which one is best for the black community? That's not how I look at them.
I
Okay,
have a
how do you,
question. Can I ask a question? Sorry. My
sure.
question is aligned to human capital. When was it that black people were or black people in this country that where human capital was like prevalent? Because I feel like around the time that when you're talking about the Black Wall Streets, the Seneca Village, and all of that, like we were more conservative at that time. And the reason why we were more so aligned was because of our Christian beliefs and the beliefs in the church and beliefs in that morality that we were taught at that time. It was more like keep your head down, build with your family, go to church, believe in Jesus, he's going to save us all. So I'm trying to understand the human capital part. Like I think I'm still missing it.
Well, the human capital was the fact that we had our own neighborhoods due to segregation. We had our own businesses due to segregation. Like Brother Red Pill was saying, our own hospitals, own schools. Those are things we wanted. You know, Black Republicans wanted our own schools. We wanted our own stuff. That was
Yes.
the liberal idea, which actually came through communists. It didn't come through Democrats. It came through communists, was to integrate so that they could, in a sense, self-sabotage it so that we would have to rely on them, which is kind of where we're at today. So I don't
But
think that
wasn't the purpose of integration because it was separate but it wasn't equal? Like, isn't that the whole like tagline, separate but equal? Like, I don't think that black people had an issue with the separation. It was the redlining, it was the murders, it was the lynching, and it was the fact that even though they were separate, they did not have equal
Black
access to
distribution of
education. They did
resources.
not have equal access to healthcare. They did not have equal access to things. So being the fact that we are citizens of this country, we should have the same rights, the same inalienable rights if we're talking about our constitution. So I think that's what the fight was. It wasn't necessarily just about we wanted necessarily the seat at the white table. That's what it turned into, unfortunately, but it wasn't about that. And I think that that's also a little bit disingenuous to try to frame it that way without adding in the fact that we did not have the same access to the things that other people in this country had access to when we built this country on our backs.
I think also for me,
speak
I'm sorry, before I forget this, I think like the term human capital makes my skin crawl a little bit.
Yeah, it's bothering me too,
Because
sis. I'm not gonna hold you.
that's what we were, right? When we were enslaved people, we were literally human capital, right? Like enslavement and slavery built the capitalist system in the United States, literally on the back of our ancestors. For well, y'all ancestors, I'm not African American, I'm Puerto Rican and Dominican, but that goes across the board. The capitalist systems across the Western Hemisphere, whether it's in Puerto Rico, in Dominican Republic, in North, South America, were built on the backs of slavery throughout the entire Western Hemisphere. So when you say something like human capital, I'm like, what are you talking about? It sounds like you're talking about the monetization of human skill sets. But for me, and I kind of agree with Deja, I don't necessarily think it was through Christianity and Christian ideals. I think it was actually more so something that was more ingrained in us before we were even Christians, which was us being more communal. So I think because we were more communal, we had to be more communal during slavery, whether we were in North America, the Caribbean, South America. You see that happening. We are more communal. When we were separate from white spaces before we integrated, that same thing was happening in the United States of America. Post-emancipation, Black folks were looking for something to identify themselves with, and they used the community and the fact that they were already communal in slavery to create an identity that was rooted in community. So when you say something, for instance, Honey, about like, oh, well, integration was communists did that, that's a little odd to me because no, completely ahistorical. Because we were already communal before like Marxism was introduced into like American spaces in a way that like created this like McCarthyism, Red Scare type nonsense. We were communal before Marx even wrote a book about being communal. So it just doesn't make any sense for me when you say something like that.
Hunted, you got a response to that? I'll give you a chance to rebut.
Okay, so I didn't originally believe that. I originally believed that integration was a great thing and that we were being oppressed, and that's why we needed to integrate. And then I found some books. And one of the books is Color Communism and Common Sense by Maynard Johnson, where he talks about being a black communist and doing these things. And that was the goal. Now that we could put that to the side. The man who is known as the father of black history, in his book, The Miseducation of the Negro, the reason that he wrote that book is because of how the history that we were being taught about ourselves was making us see ourselves. The same history that he's talking about then is the history that we now believe today. He was talking about how college professors were teaching black college kids, how we were oppressed by white people, and that's why we couldn't succeed. And then he went on to say, but the uneducated blacks are literally out there doing the thing that these college professors are saying can't be done. He's saying that this narrative is propaganda being disguised as education, and is driving these young black people into communism. He says that the idea of seeing America that way was new. And that was in 1933. That was new. Now, 11 years before that, there was an FBI raid, and I think it was Alabama, and they basically raided it was a communist convention. They raided and they found a document that basically was showing that the communists wanted to infiltrate the black community. That was in 1922. By 1933, the guy who started collecting black history says, hey, we are being deceived by communists, and we are being swept into communists, and it's making us see ourselves in a way that is negative. It's making us see ourselves in a defeatist way.
And let me ask you a question. When you're speaking
Can
about
I say something really quickly? Just wait. Hold on, Mel. Hold on, Mel. I need 1 second. Just 1 second. What is Black history?
It's history.
That's
about
my question.
Americans. History about Black Americans.
The history about Black Americans only. So only Black people exist in America. Is that the point? That's Black history. I hate the term.
I don't like the term either, but that was what he wanted to do. He saw that our history was being taught to us in a way that was being weaponized. So he thought that it was important to write a book, The Miseducation of the Negro. He thought it was important to start the society of collecting Black history. And he's the reason that we have Black History Week, was turned into Black History Month, but it's been bastardized.
Yes,
because
Black History Month, yes.
Yeah,
Carter G, you talking about?
Yeah, Carter G.
Yes, I think my larger question here is more aligned to not necessarily the ideologies, but the facts, because we can talk about like all of the different nuances, and I'm pretty sure that we are a well-read group, and we've all read many different books that probably said many different things that can support many different arguments. But I feel like the fact of the matter is, why would you shake your head like that, Tahoe? Please.
I don't know. You must be two. All of us have read mad books. I was just like,
I think that I really do think that it's important that we name that the only reason why Black people even decided to go towards the political route was because of the policies that were being made that were literally like having the white man's foot on our neck. And the only way that we can, or we thought at that time, to combat that was to get into policy and to get into politics ourselves, so that we can basically advocate for ourselves and also protect ourselves from the laws that were being made. When you think about the Black Wall Streets, the white men that burned down Black Wall Street, they had the ability to do so because they wore sheriff's badges. They literally just handed out stars on white people, and that gave them the right to move as if they were like in a position of power. Not all of those people were police officers. They literally was just like, oh, you're a white man, here's a star, and now go and run down the whole community. That's a problem. If we can't combat our humanity through policy, then what is the point? Like, why? Like, what can we do? How can we protect ourselves? And I think that that's the whole point of our ancestors and what they did, and the reason why we moved from the communal space, as you say, to more into politics and policy.
So let me interject for 1 second, because we went off on a bit of a tangent. There was a question that was posed to all three of y'all. Only one person gave the answer. However, Melanie, I know that you did have a response for what
Yeah.
Hunter was saying. So I'll let you give your response, and then we'll continue with the original question.
I just think in general, like many times we will have this argument about, oh, the communists were trying to X, Y, Z, A, B, C, D, and G, and like use this like weird, odd McCarthyism type argument. Like communism is like this horrible thing. Communism is a classless, stateless, moneyless society. That is what communism is. So if you just take the definition of communism and you apply it to the ways many indigenous societies were pre-colonialism, many pre-colonial society, pre-European colonization functioned in that way, in a way that was stateless, classless, moneyless. They were smaller communities that worked together as a community, helped each other as a community. That's technically what communism is. Obviously, Marxist wrote his manifesto in like the late 1800s, middle 1800s, actually 1847, and so on and so forth. And then those ideologies began to spread because of like the inequalities that were existing because of colonization. So now you have these societies that have class systems, and the largest class system is the poor class system. And then now you're, especially like turn of the 19th century industrialization, now this society is being exploited for their labor. And so now then it becomes like a hardcore ideology, communism, because they no longer wanted to live in a society that was hierarchical, where the people at the top controlled the people at the bottom. And so the other thing I wanted to say is that maybe a lot of Black people were drawn to communism or socialism, which many civil rights movements were, the Black Panthers, the Young Lords, like other civil rights activists. MLK towards the end of his career, even Malcolm X towards the end of his career, kind of leaned a little bit more towards like socialist policies, and they were anti-capitalist, but a lot of people don't talk about that, is because they realized that the capitalist system was built on the backs of our ancestors, and at the end of the day, we were continuing to be exploited. So even pre-integration or not, like we were always a more communal people. Like even to this day, we tend to be more communal than others. But what I find is that we tend to like be sipping on this American exceptionalism Kool-Aid, and we are becoming a lot more individualistic. I'm just gonna take care of me and mine. Mind you, I'm sure y'all spoke to your aunts, your uncles, and everybody else, and it was like, nah, we all used to hold each other down back in the day. It was the community, everybody raised everybody. It used to be like that. Now we're becoming more like white folk at the end of the day. So when you're making these arguments about, oh, well, communism was attempting to infiltrate the Black community, was it that? Or were we always communal the way that communism defines community, right? And helping each other, everyone being on the same footing in a stateless, classless, moneyless society, because it's not necessary. If we all have resources and all those resources were distributed in a way where we all would be able to live, then we would not need class or state or money. We wouldn't need those things. That is what communism is at the end of the day. Have them people who employ communism and then put it in a more authoritarian, very fascist regime? Absolutely. But I just don't necessarily care for the demonization of the word communist as if it was like this horrible thing. When in actuality, within ourselves and within our communities, we function like communists, technically, like in our family structures, we all function like, you're gonna hold down your uncle, your aunt, everybody in the community, we holding each other down. Nobody's above anybody else. That is what communism is. And that is what a lot of pro-Black spaces were about, especially at the turn of the century, post-emancipation. They did not want to be oppressed. And even as much as they segregated themselves so that they can have this society that was more communal, that was more equal, at the end of the day, like Dodge was saying, is that they're still siphoning the resources out of this community, and they're figuring out ways to destruct these communities. And we see that as a pattern of behavior. So then to say something like, oh, well, it was false that we're being oppressed by these people, but we live in this country, and they're siphoning the resources, and then they're tearing down our communities. And then they're like instilling us with fear, lynching us, so on and so forth. As a Puerto Rican, they were literally testing birth control on Puerto Rican women and making them infertile for years, right? Like, you get what I'm saying? Like all these things, and you can't claim that we are not being oppressed or we're not being used, even though we were attempting to have segregationist communal societies. Like we still needed to invoke some type of policy. Separating the personal from the policy is idiotic, because the policy affects the personal. The policy affects the day-to-day. We can't create our own policies here and not be part of the larger system. It's just not going to be able to function like that. Not in a country. Nah, it's just not possible.
Red Pill, I want to give you a chance to rebut or answer Trum's question. Trom, what was the question again? It's been a while since you asked.
Yes, it was. And I actually want to circle back to 100, but we're going to go to Red Pill Melanie first. The question is your candidate, your choice. I know you said you're leaning towards Dr. Cornel West.
Yeah.
Do you think he is the best candidate for the Black community, and why? And a second question for both you and Melanie: do you believe that voting for independent or third-party candidates is taking away votes from the Democratic Party, thus ensuring a Trump re-election?
Okay, I'll answer the first question first. That Cornel West is unapologetic. He's not afraid to actually make a stand for Black people. Like that alone, you know, is something that I have to be loyal to, because the other two candidates, they're trying to politicize even saying something in favor of Black people directly. You know what I mean? Like, our people are so downtrodden, and we're willing to accept so many symbolic gestures that we're okay with that. We're like, you know what? They won't even say our name. They won't even speak directly to us. They're going to keep telling us that we can't speak directly to you. However, billions of dollars go to Israel. They don't have a problem saying their name. They don't have a problem saying the Ukrainians' name and stuff like that. But they say, for Black people, we can't signal you guys out and just say that we're going to put forward any policies that will help your forward trajectory, or to solve any of the myriad of problems that y'all are facing as a people. So Cornel West actually has policy pillars for the people. All right. He has a whole roadmap on his site, so you don't have to speculate who he stands for and what he will do for the people when he becomes an elected official. So he has something called Black maternal justice, child justice, disability justice, economic justice, a lot of things rooted in justice, as an administration coming coming on board to present some type of justice to fix things. He's not just giving me hope, he's giving me a plan. Okay. And that's something that we need to move with as a collective. And we can't base what hasn't been done or what somebody hasn't done for us if we're not collectively moving towards a solution by following a plan. We're not following a plan, and we're not going to follow a plan as a Democrat, and we're damn sure not going to follow a plan as a Republican. And going back to the earlier statement about Wilmington massacre, please, for even the memory of those ancestors, don't minimize what took place in that coup d'etat. When I say coup d'etat, let's do the knowledge on what a coup d'etat is. It was the only coup d'etat on American soil, meaning that there was a political coup in America on its soil to its citizens, and there were Black Republicans and the Fusion Party that were in the middle of that. So 60 years later, you have with LBJ, after they assassinate Kennedy, then that's when our people get flipped over to become Democrats and whatnot. And then you also have Andrew Jackson with the Dixiecrats and stuff like that. So these parties have always been switching and playing around and whatnot. And we have to look beyond this real basic Democratic or Republican option that they're giving our people, and begin to look into these independent parties. And no, I'm not playing this game that people are trying to play to say, oh, maybe we should give this party votes so we could take away for Trump. I'm not invested in that type of conversation, nor am I investing in playing any type of game anymore. I'm going to, once again, put my name, which is recorded in history. I'm going to put my name behind the candidate that has some type of morals, and they stand for something that I'm in alignment with. Cornel West is not afraid to say that he will end, some of the things that are taking place, the egregious violations that the Zionist country of Israel is participating in, amongst other things. So yeah, he has my support. He has my support.
All right, thank you. Melanie, same question.
Yeah.
Do you need me to repeat the question?
No,
You got it?
honestly, me and Red Pill are right there with Cornel West. He specifically calls out who he is helping by their names. He says, I want Black maternal justice. I want immigration. He speaks about immigrants. He speaks about the LGBT community. He speaks about all the people specifically and their specific issues. Like under LGBTQIA justice, he says, I want less trans women being killed. He literally like outlines what he will do to help that. He speaks about laying back to the indigenous folks. He speaks about immigration reform and making sure we're opening our borders to people who are actually seeking refuge and so on and so forth. He speaks about elder justice, which again, people don't even think about the elderly. They don't think about the geriatric population. He speaks about workers. He speaks about and he speaks to the people. He is a candidate for the people. People don't want to admit this. Cornel West is far left. He is a far leftist. Probably still will be willing to operate in a more capitalist system, but he is a leftist at the end of the day. He's not afraid to advocate for Black and brown folks at all. He calls us out by name. And so this is why I support Cornel West. As for, do I think that people should invest in third parties that are going to take away from the Democratic votes, this, that, and the third? To be quite honest, vote with your heart. That's how I vote. So I'm not going to tell you how to vote, right? I understand why some folks are saying I can't vote for Cornel West as much as he is for LGBTQ issues. Trump is a bigger threat to me, and Kamala is going to be someone who can possibly win against Trump. I'd rather vote for Kamala. I'm not going to look at my trans sister and be like, nah, girl, you're bugging. No, like vote with your heart. Me personally, I can't rightfully, morally in my heart check off Kamala Harris and feel like, oh yeah, this girl is amazing. As much as I do think that she is a lot more qualified than Donald Trump, she is more presidential than Donald Trump. She's not as divisive as Donald Trump. She still upholds the status quo. She still will be pro-Israel. She still is pro-cop. She's wanting to fund more police. She's not saying anything about the cop cities that are going up. This whole entire week, Marcellus Williams, everybody's petitioning. She used to be a former prosecutor. She was mum on it, right? So I can see that what she does do really well, which is necessary to win a presidency in a country that is as divided as us, is that she plays the center very well. She is trying to win the presidential election, and so she's going to do what she needs to do in order to win the presidential election. I do think that she lost Michigan because, she didn't appeal to the non-committed voters over there and the Arab population there who were really very much wanting to speak to her about what's going on in Palestine and Gaza. And so, no, I can't support her, but I would never, ever tell anyone, oh, you must vote for Cornel West. I'm going to vote for Cornel West. I'm in California. More than likely, all of our electoral votes are going to go to Kamala Harris anyway. What I would rather do with my time and with the folks who I'm educating is to focus on down ballot, right? Because I think that's the biggest issue with us on the left is that we tend to come around every 4 years, not Cornel West as much as, like, for instance, a Jill Stein. Jill Stein will literally disappear, come around every 4 years and expect that a third candidate can win. Be fucking for real. I think what we can do is talk about how we can start putting more on a local level, right? On your city councils, your district attorneys, your Supreme Court justices in your state, like all of these things that we vote for, all of the policies that we vote for, like literally they give you a whole fucking pamphlet. They tell you everybody you're voting for. You can literally Google them straight up and down, read the book, figure out who is the most progressive candidates, start from your local elections. And that's what I'm going to focus on. In terms of telling people where they should vote if they want to be more progressive. As for the presidential, honestly, vote however your heart desires. My heart just can't check off a Kamala Harris, but my heart would never check off a Donald Trump, ever.
I have a question. So both of y'all are saying y'all going to vote for Cornel West. I remember a time when I wanted to vote for Bernie Sanders and he got, I guess, crushed by the Democratic Party or whatever happened around that time. If we already know that he's most likely not going to win, right? What is the path that we take to make him win, to help him win, without letting, so say You take those votes away from Kamala, right? Now you let a Trump in, right? Just say that happens. I'm not saying that's necessarily going to happen. Most of the blue states are going to be blue regardless, whatever, right? But say we start taking those away and say we give them to a candidate which we know these votes won't really take him to a national win. How do we say this makes sense for us when the Trumps will make it worse for us? So it's like we take it. It seems to me, and I'm definitely open to hear the answers. But it seems to me it's like cutting your nose off to spite your face. It's like you're going backwards, trying to make a point, but now the people that you're making a point to get to hurt you even more in the process. At what point does it become advantageous to do that?
If I could just answer that real quick, and I'll try to be as quick as possible. I'm really verbose. That's why I say focus on the down ballot. At the end of the day, your day-to-day life isn't as much affected by who's the president, by who is passing the laws and passing the policies in your local elections, right? That's why it's more important to focus on the down ballot for me, right? And so we start at the down ballot and we work ourselves up. For me, I think it's nonsensical to say something like, oh, we gave the presidency to Trump because we voted third party. Kamala Harris didn't look for our vote. Kamala Harris had the opportunity to get the undecided vote from the left, and she lost that opportunity. That is her job as the candidate, as we already put pressure on her to say, hey, we'll vote for you. You need to do this. She didn't do that. She's playing the center line. She lost our vote. She lost the election. So I just don't care for that idea that, oh, we're giving this presidency to Trump. This is why I say focus on your down ballot. That affects you more on a day-to-day. Your state and local laws will affect you more on a day-to-day than on a federal level. Also, when you think about it, almost every single seat in the Senate and the House is up for re-election this election cycle. Not all of them, but almost all of them. Almost 80 some odd percent. Don't quote me, but it's very high. Almost every single one is up. So now we know Civics 101, there is a process in the federal government. And there is, if you know that you can turn the House or the Senate, then what the president wants to pass is not going to pass if you don't have the House and the Senate, which we've seen happen literally in the Biden-Harris administration. Continuously, we saw that happen under Trump when Trump didn't have one of the House or the Senate. I forget which one it was, right? So this is why I'm like, you want to be strategic, focus on your local elections, focus on your senator, focus on your representative.
How does that help you get your candidate in office eventually?
It doesn't matter that's what I'm saying. It's like, if you can't, for third party, you have to start getting more people from that third party into the larger seats. So that's why you have to go locally. So this has to start, if we want a third party candidate to possibly win in 4 years, we have to start from now and get more people in our far left, whether it's the Green Party or the party, under Cornel West, and start pushing more of these types of progressives that support Cornel West from now through the next 4 years. Because without them there in these seats, there is no chance for a third party to win.
So then my question would be, why not play chess where you do vote for your third parties in the local elections where you know that you can get the win, but then also play the other side, like, well, I'm not going to let you win because this one actually helps me more, and just as far as not letting you do harm. So vote for your third parties in the locals, and then vote for the one that keeps the evil out, the bigger evil, because obviously people are going to say, hey, they're both evil.
Does the popular vote?
I just can't do that. I literally look at my page every day and I see children's head being blown off. I see families torn apart. Then I see the repercussions from Israel in Cop City here, all over the country. I see the Democratic Party not saying anything. Why would I vote for you? Morally, on my conscience. And that's why I said, I'm not going to tell you how to vote. Vote with your heart. I'm voting with my heart. How I'm being strategic? Down ballot.
Right.
Anybody else?
I'm sorry, I can't. My brain. My question is, the thought process, and we all know that Dr. Cornel West is brilliant. We understand that his policies are brilliant, but we do also understand that Black and brown people are the minority in this country, and the things that he represents does not benefit most of the country. You also said, Melanie, that Kamala Harris had an opportunity to basically get the far left's vote. But the country, most of the country is more so moderate than it is far right or far left. So I think that that's kind of counterproductive to her to lean that far left, because far left is not going to get her what she needs. And the whole point is that we want her in the White House because we can either deal with her or we can deal with him. And I think that the idea of communism or even socialism on any, thinking about it in the capitalist state or this country that we also know is a business, I think that it's very idealistic of us to even think that that's something that's possible. Like, I'm not trying to be negative, but I'm also, I think I err more on the side of logic and realism, where I don't see this country ever going in that direction just because of who's in this country. So it might be doing us more a disservice to even put that much fervor behind something that is very utopian. It's almost like a fairy tale. Like, yes, I wish I could live in a world where everything is this way, but is that realistic?
So just to correct you, most Democrats and most of the population currently, after this entire year, after October 7th, is against what is going on currently in Palestine. Overwhelmingly,
Yeah,
I think it's like 64 some
I said most of the country is moderate.
Yes. So then
most
now,
of us are in the middle.
But
we're not
but
far
I'm
left,
saying
we're not far right.
even on the Democratic side, the Republican side, not as much. But if the country as a whole has been polled, and the country as a whole, like 60 some odd %, do not support what is going on in the Middle East. They don't.
Yes.
Then when you go into the Democratic Party, hold on, let me just finish. When you go into the Democratic Party, vast majority of Democrats do not support and would support, for instance, an arms embargo. Vast majority of Democrats do support that. Because Kamala Harris is looking to reach across the aisle, she decided not to platform the uncommitted voters. Had she platformed the uncommitted voters, one, she would have had Michigan in the bag, right? She would have had it in the bag, and many undecided leftists would have also likely voted for her, seeing as though she might have been for an arms embargo in Israel. So at the end of the day, to say that, oh, well, you know, she's gonna serve most of the people, and most of the people in the United States don't support it. They don't. The vast majority of them don't, on the right and on the left. And especially in the Democratic Party, I would say overwhelmingly, they don't support what is going on in Israel. On top of that, you got the ICJ, you got the UN, you got all these international organizations that are slowly pulling out. Canada's pulling out, Great Britain's pulling out, a bunch of our allies are pulling out of supporting and funding and sending weapons over to Israel, and the US is staying steadfast. And on top of that, now we're sending troops over there because they went into Lebanon. So all of us, none of us want our troops in the Middle East. And now our troops are being sent to the Middle East. So at the end of the day, it's not idealistic. It is realistic. We don't want our troops over there. We don't want a World War III to start happening over in the Middle East, which Israel was probably planning from jump, right? Vast majority of the population, whether the far left or the far right, don't want it. They don't want war. They don't want to be funding. Even on the far right, many libertarians, they don't want billions of dollars going to Israel. This is not idealistic. This is actual and factual. But because they're depending on that foreign policy, because of whatever their allyship is with Israel, and because they wanted to reach across the aisle, Kamala decided to be centrist, and she did not need to do that. She could have gotten Michigan in the back and the vast majority of the people in the United States.
I didn't say that Kamala or all of the things that's going on in Israel, I never said that was idealistic. I'm thinking about, and I centered a communist, i.e. socialist society, and thinking about like that being the vast majority or the type of society that will be able to fare in this America. That's what I said was idealistic.
Well, I was never arguing a communist or a socialist America. That wasn't my argument. I was specifically talking about the uncommitted movement and a very big issue for people on the left, where she could have gotten people on the left. So if she loses to the left and then the left decides to vote third party, she had the opportunity to get the left and to get other undecided and uncommitted voters because of that particular issue, which is a huge issue at the end of the day. So I'm not talking about communism or socialism. However, if a
Offer
third
my
party who
question.
is more left wants to realistically get into
Parker,
office
shut up.
in the United States of America, then that organization needs to start now, and we need to start putting more progressive candidates into there now. And on top of that, many of the systems need to be completely abolished. Like the electoral college needs to be completely abolished at the end.
I thought it 4 times, and she's single.
God, your mic.
Parker.
So I want to move on
off.
to our next
It was off.
topic. Hunted, I got a question for you.
You can hear me right now? Just
Yes.
I can hear you, Dosh.
So why my mic not connected? My fault, y'all. I swear to God, look, it's off. Don't do me.
You could just stop talking. That might do the trick.
Oh, I can also. Trom,
can you
Trom, please don't
Just
play with me.
message.
Please don't play with me, Trom.
I'm just messing. I don't want no smoke.
Because everything, it's always ha key when it's at my expense. Got it. Cool. You win. Y'all won.
All right. So, question to Hunted. I probably asked you an unfair question because I said, why is your candidate best for the Black community? And you commented that you don't necessarily vote for who's best for the Black community. So that I realized I should not have assumed that that's how you vote. Can you please share with us, like, what is the reasoning behind who you give your support to?
I like the disruption that Trump causes. You know, it would be probably similar kind of to what the third party candidates are doing to the Democrats. It's just causing people to disillusion themselves from that party, you know, when we've been very loyal to them for 87 years. So I like the fact that him just asking the question, what do you have to lose? It sparked an entire like wake up moment for people, where people started to question, like, why are we voting for these guys? What have we gotten in return for that? I never questioned that before. That was never a thing. You know, I was talking to my mom recently. She's like, yeah, I never even questioned it. I just always voted Democrat. I never even wondered why. You know, it's just not something that even dawned on me. So I like the fact that that's what he is. He's not presidential because presidential is being fake. He's like the opposite of that shit, which is what we've been asking for a very long time. Like, he's disrupted the media. He's fucked up that entire thing. They've gone so hard to try to paint him in a certain light that they've become very obvious on their tactics, something that I never saw before. You know, it's like it's happening over and over and over again. That's what I like, is the fact that he caused that type of disruption, and it seems that he's doing it on purpose. You know, I could respect that. And I not to mention that dude been part of the community for a very long time. It's just like the last 8 years in which we really turned and saw him in a different way. People was making songs about him literally in January, and then 6 months later, the news about him was totally different. So, you know, I like that. I like seeing stuff like that because it just exposes it. It's like I say, it's like the Truman Show. Like when he was going in that roundabout, they were trying so hard to keep him in the illusion that they exposed the illusion. I feel like that's what Trump did.
Okay, fair enough. So let me continue on. So I did notice, specifically, Hunted, on your page, you quote a lot of Malcolm X. Malcolm X is famous for saying that the Black woman is the most disrespected person on this earth, right? I noticed, and I want to pose this question to you and Red Pill and Melanie, to see if you noticed the same thing. When Kamala got the endorsement and became the Democratic candidate, she got overwhelming support from Black women, women in general, and, you know, just a lot of people across the board. I noticed, especially on social media, that a lot of Black men weren't really giving her support or were vocal against her or critical of her. I'd like to get each of you's thoughts on specifically Black men's apprehension towards Kamala and how you feel about that, and if you believe that is true. We'll start with you, Hunted.
Okay. I do believe it's true. I don't think it's 100% across the board. My comments tell me that, you know, I don't think it's 100% across the board, but I just think that a lot of people feel insulted. It's like, come on, y'all. We had this whole movement in between the last presidents, you know, and to keep pulling the same tactics just seems insulting. And I think that a lot of men feel that way. They just feel insulted, you know. And before, I think when Trump was the president and at the beginning of Biden's presidency, I think it cost people too much to voice that. I think people felt that, you know, but when you're not typically going to go against women, you know, nobody wants to be discarded by women, you know, so you're going to play it safe. But I think now people are at the point where they just feel comfortable. There's been enough male support in the arenas that we look to as leadership, for real. Like there's a lot of rappers in that sense, like the same people who were making songs against this guy in that sense, the same people who were coming out speaking against him are now saying, I ain't telling you who I'm voting for, but it ain't Democrat. And that's causing a like a shift in the mindset. I think that's how they feel. I think it's a lot of black women too that feel the same way. It's just that when you're trying to polarize people, you don't usually give voice to the thing that makes it look more balanced. So, but I think that I think guys just feel insulted by it.
Red Pill, what do you think?
I think people wasn't fucking with her before they made the announcement that she was going to be running for the president. She had the lowest approval rate during the 4 years of the Biden administration. That's the years that people started to wake up. You feel me? A lot of people started to get hip. They were being educated by the Fox News of the world, all of that right wing, those outlets and whatnot, Reddit, 4chan. People were frequenting those areas and whatnot. The Red Pill movement gave birth to a lot of outlets and platforms where people were having political conversations, whereas before they were not politically astute. So they were leaning towards Trump even before the first debate with Joe Biden. That went horribly wrong. More people started leaning towards Trump. The assassination attempt went down. More people started leaning towards Trump. Then they announced Kamala as a candidate, as a viable candidate, and both black men and women had something to say about it. It's not just a black man thing. When it comes to black men, I think they were more so leaning towards Donald Trump and his persona and what he represents, that whole Trump aura or something. You know, it was a wave. You know what I mean? There was a wave. I don't know if people are going to be honest about the wave that was building up in our community. Coincidentally, after he got out of office, because it wasn't a wave while he was in office. Because while he was in office, black people was getting a lot of pressure. He was applying a lot of, he was telling black people that he didn't give a damn about them. He was showing them many ways that he doesn't care about us. And, you know, it's a love-hate relationship. Like Hunter said, we were fucking with Donald Trump. He's a Queens dude. Like he's a New Yorker from Queens who we've all been familiar with, but he's still the quote unquote archetype of the successful white billionaire misfit. You know what I mean? And people are enthralled in his story. They're enthralled in a lot of things. However, you know, that doesn't make it good. And you know what I'm saying? But yeah, the Kamala suspicion, it's the Kamala suspicion, and it's warranted. She's not the most sociable person. Her story doesn't add up all the way. She's been caught many times with gaffes when she was running for around the time when she was running for office with Biden, and all the way up into now. So in this new environment that we're in with social media, where they're gonna pick all of your quote unquote blunders and your bloops and your blunders out, she's just feeding the algorithm. You can't blame it on black men for having the you know, they have the, like he was saying, we're in a political season now, but it wasn't like this before. But now you can question things. Now you can make memes and whatnot. Now you could show how silly certain people look when you just put it out there. So that's what I'm seeing in this environment.
Yo, Pill. Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
You mad Afrocentric?
Why you say that? What is Afrocentric? I don't even know.
And I'm just, this is coming from a joking way. This is joking.
Yeah.
Joking, right? But why you keep saying Kamala? If her name is Kamala, like you're mad educated. I wouldn't expect you to be making that mistake often. Like, what is that? Because I don't see you making mistakes often. So I'm just
There's
like,
a wrestler named Kamala Harris from the WWF, and that's who I grew up. Yeah, his name is Kamala Harris,
Oh wow.
the Ugandan giant.
That's
I'm just used to that. It's spelled the same way. Kamala Harris. Google it.
get the
Fact.
fuck out of here.
Dead
I never
ass.
heard that shit before in my life. What WWF he was in? What year was that? Y'all a little older than me.
He had a bone in his nose.
Yo,
How
please.
about that? He had a bone in his nose, and he like a fucking he like eat people. His name is
That's
Kamala
fucking
Harris,
racist.
and he died in 2020. Yeah, take it up with Vince McMahon. He's, you know what
That's
I mean?
fucking racist.
Take it up with
But
the white
then
Diddy.
Vince McMahon, that's fucking racist.
Yeah, the white Diddy, because he was stereotyping all of us. No,
The
he's
white
crazy.
Diddy
Yo,
is crazy.
No,
For real.
no, I'm
He
telling
really
you,
was.
it's
He
crazy.
really was.
Wait
Nah.
till you see the series that come out
What's
yet.
his name? Rashiki? That shit was very
Rafiki.
OD. Rikishi.
Yeah,
Rikishi.
something.
He used
Who's
to put his ass in
Rikishi?
people's face.
The dude.
That's
Oh,
the nigga that
Rafi-
used to wear the thong, used to put his ass in people's face. They was making
Remember
fun of the
him?
Samoans and the and all the rest of. Listen, all right. I have a
What
question.
people do for money? Because you're not going to have me. And well, how much was you getting paid to let Rashid just sit on your face?
Please.
That had to be a bonus
First
every
of all, y'all
time.
need to Google this guy. Oh my God, this is comedy.
What? Who? I don't even know how to say his name no more.
Yeah.
I don't want to do this, but I have my other laptop up, but I'm gonna do it. But I have a question for Honey.
okay.
This is my question.
All right.
I got a question too. You can't turn the light on in that car.
Make the theme come down. That's cool.
Right.
Yeah,
Like
it's
the
very,
green.
it's giving Halo. It's giving very, it's like a Halo.
Dodge, is your question on the line with this question? Because Melanie still has to answer the same question we posed. Is it- all right, so let's finish this round of questioning before we just skip over Melanie, please. Same question, Melanie, about
Repeat your question
Kamala.
again, real quick.
So the question
Kamala.
was in response to Kamala. I mentioned that you know, when she got the nod, I personally noticed, I'm sure other people noticed, there was a lot of support from Black women, and it seemed like on social media, at least, I don't know if this is across the board, you know, in polls, but it seems like a lot of Black men were quick to offer their apprehension about Kamala. Why do you think? Do you agree with that? That Black men are apprehensive, and why do you think that is?
I just think it's odd that like Black men love mixed race women, then all of a sudden Kamala Harris because of VP and they don't like mixed race women anymore. I just think that's a little odd. But what I will say is that I find a lot of the critiques against Kamala Harris were rooted in a lot of misinformation and disinformation. And they didn't have a lot of valid critiques, especially for men on the right. And a lot of the critiques that they had were just rooted in anti-Blackness and misogyny. Let's keep it a stack here. And they would say wild shit. Even Hunnit right now still calling Kamala Harris a Marxist is absolutely fucking nuts. Kamala Harris is not a Marxist. Not anywhere near a Marxist at all. And then in general, they would like critique her race, like questioning her race, questioning if she could lead because she was a woman, and so on and so forth. Like most of that was just rooted in, honestly, sexism and misogyny and misogynoir. Period. Point blank. 100,000% on the right, I will say. I will say, however, there is this false idea that Black men are not supporting Kamala Harris or the Democratic Party, but the vast majority of Black men and Black women are still voting Democratic, still registered Democrat. So that is just false. I will say there are more Black men who vote conservative than Black women who vote conservative. Likely that is probably at the line where men don't have to worry about their bodily autonomy the way that women have to vote for their bodily autonomy. So then women will definitely tend to vote more Democrat than Republicans because Republicans don't give a flying fuck about women's bodily autonomy. So I think that's why you see more women supporting, even if the women are conservative, because a lot of the women do come from the church. When you look at Black folks all over the diaspora, because I grew up in the church, my grandfather was a pastor. He's Puerto Rican, but he was Black. And Black Pentecostal, Puerto Rican, and Pentecostal Baptist church, vast majority of the church are women. People who go to the church are women. That's changing a little bit now with Gen Z, but let's keep it a stack. It's always been women. Women always held down the church. Women were always more church-going folk than men in general. And so I think bodily autonomy is the thing that drives women more so for a Democratic ticket versus a Republican ticket, whether or not they're conservative or not. And to keep it a stack, I find that a lot of Black men who are conservative don't necessarily care. And I think what they like about Trump is what they aspire to. They aspire to white power. And that's what Trump represents. Trump represents white power, the power that Black men have not had access or granted to, not granted access to for many, many years because of systemic oppression, slavery, Jim Crow, segregation, redlining, so on and so forth. I find that even a lot of Black men in the manosphere, they want to be like white men. And so many of them, they will lean right, they will vote Trump because they want the power that Black men have. They aspire to be capitalists, they aspire to exploit folks, they aspire to those things. So someone like Trump represents those things for them. And this is why they will vote more conservatively for an idiot like Trump, because he represents everything that they aspire to, that they have been left out of for many, many generations. On top of the fact that I think that a lot of Black men, especially on the conservative side, are very homophobic, transphobic. They will push forth this weird ass, oh, there's a gay agenda and so on and so forth. They feel emasculated by gender nonconforming people and people who support the LGBTQ community. And I think many of those men tend to vote more conservative because they feel so strongly about what queerness stands for and this emasculation that is not honestly existent. And so that's it. I think on a more pragmatic side, I think Black men have felt like they have been left out of the conversation, even on the Democratic side for many years, just because it is usually Black women that comes in and swoops in and saves the Democratic Party. And that's why I think they are highly disillusioned by the Democratic Party. And that's why you see more Black male conservatives. But by and large, the vast majority of Black men are still Democrats, still registered Democrats, still will vote Democrat.
So, Daj, we're going to get to your question in 1 second, but I'm very curious to hear what Hunnit and Red Pill have to say about what Melanie just said. She did bring up the fact that some Black men don't support Kamala for sexist reasons, and it might be with Black men's own homophobic views. What are your thoughts on those comments by Melanie?
I'll start first. I mean, it's a pretty broad sentiment to paint all people with that. I can understand why you would.
I didn't paint all people with that. I said Black conservative men. Okay,
so to paint that entire group, I would say, to paint the Black men who are opposed to Kamala. I said it wrong.
We're not talking about the wrestler, Kamala.
All right, I thought I was saying it right. All right, so I'm not talking. I think that's a pretty broad sweep to place on all those people. But I understand why you would see it that way. I can understand that. I think that that's the power of having conversations, to understand why people feel the way they feel. Because, other than that, we just have our belief system to package their reactions in. You know what I mean? But I think everybody has a reason. And their reason to them is probably going to be legitimate, something rational. And there's probably no way for anyone else to believe what they're saying internally is true to them if you see the world in that type of way. So I can understand why you would say that, but I think it's bigger than that. I think, like I said, I just think they feel insulted. Like the whole thing about the question of race, I think is because we feel like y'all just keep throwing blackface out there. Like it's just Democrat blackface. Like when it's a Black Republican, it's a Black Republican. He's not just a Republican, he's a Black Republican. When it's a Democrat, just a Democrat. But when you're a Republican, you're a Black Republican. The race is specific, and that's usually from the other side, putting the race on it as a modifier. It's a thing. Whenever there's a Black Republican, they're seen as a token. But so I think people just feel like they're trying to throw a token out there. It's insulting.
I always had that question though, like, she's Indian, her mom's Indian, her dad's Jamaican, right? If she aligns herself, so right there, the dad's Jamaican, she definitely has black blood in her. We can say that, right? Like we can say that, right?
No.
If her dad is black, she doesn't have black. We can't say that.
I don't know if her dad is black.
Her dad is literally black. He is
dad is
literally
black.
a black ass Jamaican ass man.
Her dad is black, and she has aligned herself culturally with Black American shit. Her basically entire upbringing.
Her entire career.
Her entire upbringing, she's been that. So at what point do we say no because your mom's Indian? You're Indian. Like that shit's so confusing to me that people is doing that.
It's honestly not about her lineage. It's just the fact that they've only used her race as being black to win our vote. That's the insulting part. If the lady want to be black her whole life, I really don't care. It's just the fact that when they announce her any other time, she's been an Indian American. And now that they want to win the black vote, she's black.
Wait, when does anybody?
Nah.
They've never announced Obama. They've never announced Obama as a white.
Kamala was a part of the Black Caucus, like.
Literally. I understand that. Rachel Dahl is there, however you say her name, was on the NAACP.
See,
a lot of white people on the NAACP.
Okay, now I'm getting
I forgot my original point and where I was going, but okay.
This is crazy, bro. That's nuts. She always been black. Her dad is Jamaican.
You've never heard them say Obama is a. You've never announced them. They've never announced Obama as a white president. Never. They've never.
Obama is phenotypically black.
He's biracial. He's biracial just like her.
And he is phenotypically black.
Okay. She's phenotypically Indian then.
She's racially Indian to me at most, but she looks like a black woman to me. And the reason why she speaks about her being Indian is because her mother passed away and she's still proud of her Indian heritage.
I'm not opposed to her being Indian. I'm opposed to people using race to manipulate us for votes. That's what I'm opposed to. She could be black and Jamaican. I don't care.
That we think that in this particular instance, they're using race with Kamala Harris, with a woman who is literally overqualified for the position. And again, I'm not even a Kamala stan. I'm not even trying to vote for her, which is why I think this is straight up anti-blackness and misogyny and misogynoir. You're going to ignore the fact that the woman has literally served in every branch of fucking government, has had years, has a law degree, was a prosecutor, was an AG, was a senator, is a vice president, and is now to the, like, literally, if any man had the same if any man had the same pathway as Kamala Harris, nobody would be questioning whether or not they're using their blackness. No, the woman is overqualified. So saying some wild shit like, oh, now they're using her race and it's insulting when literally the woman is overqualified, to me, sexism is straight up anti-blackness to me.
They used Obama's race as well.
Well, of course they're going to use Obama's race. He was the first person who could, first black president ever that could possibly.
Exactly. And we fell for it for 8 years.
No, but nobody is falling for Kamala Harris's race. Like,
okay,
Kamala is wild. She was more qualified than Obama was. Kamala Harris right now is more qualified to run for presidency than Obama was when he ran.
And then if that's the case, then why, if she's not black, then why are you bringing up Obama when you're talking about her?
Me?
Well, why is that even brought into the case? If she's not black, why bring up Obama when speaking about her to discredit her when literally if you anybody else in this in any political race, as Mel said, and honestly, I'm just listening to all of y'all, right? But so my mind just bringing up shit as y'all go. But if she has done all of this shit, why is it a token candidate when she's literally served in all of these branches of government, just like any other person who would be a great candidate to run? Why bring up black? Period. Why bring up Indian? Why do any of it? It just doesn't make sense when the person is this qualified to run.
Why are they labeling the groups that are voting for her white men for Kamala, white women for Kamala? It's because race matters. Okay, for her, for Vice President Harris.
Hold on. I'm sorry. I just got to interrupt you.
Okay.
Somebody put this in a comment that they said the mispronunciation of her name irks my soul. And I had to agree, because the only time I see people mispronounce her name is when they're speaking against her or if they're siding with the Republican views. Regardless of who you want to vote for, regardless of whether you agree with their views, I think the very first thing that we can do is to give somebody the respect to pronounce their name right. And that might take a little bit of effort. And Daj knows that she works in education. I work a little bit in education part-time. You got to pronounce all these kids' names and remember their names. It's a very basic form of respect. And that's why I brought up the Malcolm X quote, like, as a Black woman, whether you agree with her or not, Kamala Harris is her name. And I think that we could put that effort forward to pronounce her name right. I'm not stating that I'm supporting her as a candidate. I'm just stating that I am supporting her as a Black woman and as a human being that deserves that much respect.
Yeah, it's not intentional. The entire 4 years of Biden's presidency, that's how everybody called it. I never heard it pronounced in the Indian sounding way. So it's not on purpose.
And I'm not suggesting that it is.
So what way is it?
But it might be intentional to try to pronounce it right. You have to put the emphasis on the first A. So just remember that. Sometimes I got to talk to myself. Emphasis on the first A. Kamala.
That should be fucking me up too. I ain't gonna.
Yeah, I mean, when I said it, I thought that I was saying it the right way until you corrected me.
Yeah, but I'm sorry, I did interrupt.
What is the Indian sounding way to say Kamala? How is that Indian sounding?
Kamala versus Kamala. Kamala sounds like we think she's Black. Kamala sounds like an Indian person.
So you say it in the Black way?
Yeah,
is what you're saying, because somehow she registers to you as Black.
Yes, that's my point.
Wait, you saying Kamala sounds Black and Kamala don't sound Black?
Kamala sounds Black. Yeah, that's all. Everybody that I know is Black, and that's how they say her name.
Yeah, but to me it's funny that you say that, because for a person that's saying that she's Indian, you would say it the Indian way. Instead of saying that she's Black, you say it the Black way. You understand what I'm saying? Like the mental gymnastics that you're doing with that. It's like you don't think she's Black, you think she's Indian, but you don't want to say her name Indian. You say it the Black way.
Brother, it's not mental gymnastics. When the guy asked Joe Biden to pick a VP candidate, he says, "I think you should pick a Black woman, Harris." At that time, I was under the same illusion as everybody else. It's later that I understand, but that's the name that's in my mental lexicon. That's what it is.
But I think it's valid to say I think you should pick a Black woman. And I think when people use that argument, they're basically saying, why would you decide to pick a Black woman? They're not qualified. Instead of understanding when they say I'm going to pick a Black woman, they're going to pick a qualified Black woman, because at the end of the day, when we're looking at politics in general, who we see in office should reflect the population. And in that high of an office, we have never seen the reflection of a Black woman. So it is valid to say, yes, I would love to choose a Black woman VP. They've never been seen in this high in the government. And obviously, she's going to be qualified. There are plenty of Black women who are qualified.
Trom, let's move on to the next thing. We spend no time on this name thing. Sorry about that if I derailed it. It was just a question I had, but yeah, we good. Trom, what do you got?
Yeah, no problem. So I have
wait, didn't Dodge have a question? Dodge had a question.
Oh yeah. I'm sorry, Dodge. What was your question?
Red Pill didn't answer the question either.
So all right, we'll give Red Pill the floor. If you have anything more to add to this subject before we move on.
I would just add that I picked up on a lot of misogyny from both sides, the right and the left. You know, they were very egregious in the way that they were, speaking about Kamala. You know, a lot of that typical incel / misogynistic / red pilling was taking place when it came, and that was expected. A lot of that inferiority complex is going to come out. But when it comes to questioning her qualifications and just wanting to have that conversation, I don't think that was necessarily sexist or misogynistic. It would be the same way that somebody would question anybody who came on the scene and say, are they qualified, or what makes them presidential? What makes them worthy of my vote? Why would I go from not even seeing a person as presidential on Monday to seeing them as presidential on Wednesday because the media told me to see them as such? you know, so people have the right to ask questions. Why was your approval rate so low as vice president? Why were you kind of like not even there? You know, you were a non-factor. So why would you be a factor now? These are valid questions. These are valid questions that we can't be so moist and we can't be so emotionally triggered as a people to not be able to be in a, and that's not even a hot seat. She refuses to even get in a hot seat. Donald Trump refuses to get in a hot seat. Let's remember that. He took a lot of effort over the years to dodge sitting down in front of a real journalist. You know what I mean? So this is just what we call politics as usual. They play it on both sides. And I'm just observing because a lot of people are sitting back once again, a part of the circus, a part of this, what they call political theater. You know what I mean? It's political theater. It's a reality show. But I'm gonna let y'all continue.
Oh shit, you got me. I wasn't expecting you to stop. My bad. Hold on. All right, cool. All right. Dodge, you had a point that you had to make.
I'm good. It was so far ago. I don't even remember what it was. It's gone.
Okay. Trom, we are an hour and a half in. We got about a half hour left, maybe a little bit more if y'all got time. Yeah. What do you got, Trom? What you got for us?
All right, so I got a couple of questions. This is more towards Red Pill and Melanie about Dr. Cornel West. He, in the last year or so, has been affiliated, or at least expressed interest in running on a few different parties. The Justice for All Party, the People's Party, the Green Party, and so I just want to know, him being somewhat inconsistent with what party he's going to represent, what are your thoughts on that, and where do you see independent voting in the future, the next 4 years, the next 8 to 10 years? And is there a particular party that we should start, you know, the Black community, progressive, liberal folks, should we start pushing our vote behind, or do you just believe in pushing your vote behind certain individuals?
Who's that question directed toward?
We'll start with Melanie, Red Pill and Melanie first.
I will say I don't think that affect the way I feel about Cornel West, because regardless if he was running for the Justice for All Party or the Green Party, his pillars and his platform remain consistent. He has always been for Black people, for reparations, for anti-imperialism, for anti-colonialism, for give back, for immigration reform, in ways that gives immigrants rights to live in this country, seek asylum, refuge, like always for the Black community, like he's never shifted in the years that I've known and followed Cornel West. So it doesn't matter what party he runs for. So that doesn't bother me in the slightest, because he's been very consistent in that way. Unlike, you know, as much as I think she's more qualified, Kamala Harris and even Trump, they flip-flop often. They flip-flop on the policies often, depending on, you know, what's more important to the American people. I've never seen Cornel West do that. As for what parties they can look for if you are wanting to vote more progressive and more left, there is the Green Party, there is the PSL, the Party for Socialist. Oh my God, I'm forgetting it. It's the PSL. I'm forgetting the name. So there are a few other like socialist parties that you can look into if you are more left. But I think that it'd be smart to start voting in people that you see individually as more progressive, and then see what parties are starting to form from that. You get what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
Because what ends up happening a lot of the times, and that happened with AOC, is that they will be more progressive, they will be more left, and then they will end up like going into the Democratic Party, because that just gives them more access and then more allyship within the Democratic Party, because there's just going to be more people that they can run and be behind on a macro level. But if there were other parties that were bigger, then maybe. Right now, I think of the left parties, the Green Party is probably one of the bigger parties, which is probably why Cornel West was like, oh, well, maybe the Green Party, maybe, you know what I mean? but I do think that there needs to be more concrete action there to identify who the left is going to stand behind. Because again, the Democrats are not the left; they're the center.
Bill.
Yeah, I feel like, we should be. I just feel like this election cycle should shake our people up to the point where we collectively have to come together and form some type of new party. I rock with the Green Party. However, I don't feel like they are the end all be all. There's room for another party. There's room for more disruptors. Like 100 was saying, he likes what Donald Trump represents as a disruptor. I feel like we need more disruptors. At this point, what do we have to lose? We need more disruptors. We need more people who are unafraid and unapologetically for their people. You know what I mean? Who will not be compromised. Who won't, get into the political arena and just try to get down with the bag and run behind these votes. And no, we need more solid plans. We need more initiatives. We need to stand on these initiatives, and we need to do it without the quote unquote, without shaking a cup, like without being a beggar nation, without relying on government or these programs to initiate it and to start it up. I would love to see more advocacy amongst the people, to see the power in governing themselves. Govern your mental, be responsible for forming some type of committee or some type of quote unquote, there's this whole thing right now that I'm studying called the network effect. And primarily what it deals with is the fact that because of social media and because of this new rise in technology with subscription, with followings and whatnot, you have the opportunity to wield power the political parties have with their followings just by having a following of a, say, Kai Cenat, or one of these streamers and whatnot that have hundreds of millions of people. What would happen if they got political one day and they wanted to politicize, or they came and unveiled the plan and whatnot? The powers that be, they're afraid of shit like that. That is a threat. That is a big threat to them, because people have a lot of influence. Macro governments are popping up all over the place. People are utilizing crypto and the blockchain and other things as their form of governance. So in the next 4 years to the next 8 years, this whole paradigm will be disrupted. We need more disruptors, people who are visionaries, because I promise you, if anything, this last election cycle should have shown everybody involved that this shit is broken, and we can't say pick your poison anymore. Choose between an AK-47 or an AR-15. It doesn't equate to anything. We're literally settling at this point. Yeah, we're settling. You know what I'm talking about? And I want better for our people. I want better for us.
I just wanted to
wait, hold on. Can I please?
Please,
because
please
I feel like we're going down this idealistic road again, and we're not learning from history. So if we don't all know how Hitler came to power, it's from this very thought process. When Germany, after the war, when they decided that they wanted to become a democracy, they had a bunch of different parties, a shitload of parties, and nobody was able to get enough of the majority votes because there were like 25 parties battling against each other, and it didn't work. It literally doesn't work. Too many of us have too many thought processes, too many ideals, too many different ways culturally, religious. Like, we have too many ways that we were raised. We're not centralists. So for us to have a system and a bunch of disruptors, all that's gonna do is make it worse. Like, I'm sorry, like, I'm trying to like understand, and like not only understand but kind of like rationalize, but thinking about the past. When you think about the past, the only things that have sustained over time were monarchies, dictatorships, and now democracies. And when you have a democracy, it can't be everybody having a different party, because that's why it didn't work for Hitler. But that's also why he rose to power, because they combined parties and then basically took over power. They staged like a whole propaganda, whatever, and then took over the whole goddamn country. So how do we not let that happen again? How do we not put ourselves in that position again? I'm not saying that the two-party system is perfect by far, but all I know is if you take 15 Black people from across this own country and you put them in a room, there are not going to be 15 people that agree on the same things. Those are probably going to be 15 different people that see the world differently, that have different levels of education, that have different levels of qualification, and we're not going to always see eye to eye. Just looking at this panel alone, it's what, 5 of us? And most of us were on different sides of a spectrum. If we all had our own party and used our social media influence to gain or garner votes for what we feel like is right, this country would go to shit. It just would.
I'm just gonna disagree, and I'm gonna say this. I think
That's
the biggest
fine.
issue in the United States is not that we have, if we have several parties, it'll go to shit like what happened in Germany. First and foremost, what you're saying that's happening about parties uniting and becoming one more powerful party, that's literally happening. That literally is happening. What do you think is happening in the Republican Party?
That's the Tea Party turned into MAGA. The Tea Party turned into MAGA.
That's the Tea Party. Yes,
Right.
It is the Tea Party. But then what I'm saying is,
but
we're
that's what I'm saying is like
each other apart instead
what
of
you're saying.
coming like
what you're
you. But
Guys,
I'm sorry.
Melanie-
Hold on, Mel.
I just wanted to
Hold on, Mel. Hold on, Trom, and hold on, Mel.
Is that you didn't let me finish what I was saying.
What I was responding to was Red Pill and saying that we need more disruptors. So not just thinking about a 2-party, 3-party, 4-party, 5-party. I'm just saying more disruptors can put us in the same position that Germany was in post World War One. That's my only point.
For me, when he's saying disruptors, that is what he's saying. He's saying people to disrupt the strong identity politic people have to the 2-party system, which I think is necessary. I think, however, in order for us to have a true democracy, which the United States is not a democratic nation, right? It's a republic, right? It's a representative republic at that, right? We vote for representatives. The representatives vote for us. So in order for that to happen and have true democracy in the United States, the Electoral College needs to be abolished. That's first and foremost. And if the Electoral College was abolished and we had several disruptors and we had several parties running all at the same time, then the popular vote would win the vote, and that's that on that. Then it doesn't matter. We can have 20 people running for president. The popular vote is who wins, period. And there are other states that have other like voting systems that I'm forgetting what it is. I have to look this up, and maybe I'll look it up right now and I'll tell you guys. But it's something like where you vote for your first choice, your second choice, and your third choice.
Ranked choice?
And
yes, they did that in New York.
Ranked choice.
Yes.
What is it called?
Rank choice?
Ranked choice. Yeah,
Yes,
they did that in New York. There's another state that they did that again, and I forget where it is. So if they abolish the Electoral College, they either focus on the popular vote or they do a ranked choice voting system, then you would actually have something that was closer to a true democracy, especially when you think about ranked choice, because what ranked choice does is say, well, everybody kind of said that this pairing together is the middle ground between what everybody decides here. But who knows when the Electoral College is going to be abolished. And we can't abolish the Electoral College until we have more people in Congress who also want to abolish the Electoral College.
Can I ask
I have a question.
Real quick. Can I ask real quick? I'm sorry.
Yes, ask me a question, and then I have a question for you, Melanie, about rank votes. Please remind me. It's about the rank vote. Go ahead.
So we're having this conversation about who we're voting for in the popular vote, but we all understand that the president gets selected by the Electoral College, right? So we're collectively agreeing that we're playing a part of this game with these people.
Yes, I hate the Electoral College. I'm 100% with y'all. I believe that the popular vote is the one that should win.
Because it would collectively You know, think about psychologically what that would do to a people if your candidate wins the popular vote and it gets
And loses
overturned
the
by the
elect.
electoral college,
Yes,
right? And then they
like Hillary
select a
Clinton,
president, right? So then that,
like George Bush. Yes.
right. So once again, when I say disruption, when I say the need for some type of disruption, what I mean is the need for our people to be more educated as to the fact that they might not have as much of the choice that they think they have, right? There needs to be something to show them that in a disruptive type of way rather than us just vocalizing it.
Okay. I don't disagree with you on that there. And to go back to the question that I have, and this is to the whole panel, I'm putting on my educator hat right now. So just a shift. This country is not smart enough to discern between multiple candidates. The literacy level alone in this country is in the pits of hell. Like, there are grown ass people that literally cannot read a sentence without taking pauses after every 3 words. So thinking about a situation in which we have multiple people, multiple disruptors, well, that would force people to have to actually go out and do quality research and understand the difference between fact and opinion, when that's something that is definitely slated down the middle right now. Excuse me. There are people that don't understand the difference between the two, and no matter how many times you explain it to them, they don't get it. They think whatever they feel that makes it right. And that's not the case. And I would hope that everybody on this panel, we all understand that right and wrong is a perspective, and it's based off of your experiences and your educational background, right? So if we have a large sum of Americans, of the American public, whose literacy level is below that of middle school, how can we then therefore trust this thought process to be able to choose when it's hard enough for them to choose between 2 people, one qualified and one not qualified? How do they choose between 20 people who to vote? Who's actually, like, how many people are actually going to go out and do that research that is necessary to make a sound decision on who gets to run the country? And it goes back to my other question, which I had from before, which was to Hunnit, where I feel like, and these are my thoughts, my feelings based off of what you said, not what you did. These are my thoughts. Based off of what you're saying about Donald Trump, I feel like you are willing to vote for him because he's more entertaining to you, because you like who he is, like, because you mentioned his persona and entertainment enough. I'm entertained by a lot of people, but I don't want them to run my country. So what happens if we have a bunch of people that want to vote for somebody purely off of, I like your Instagram stories, I like your outfits,
I would win.
I like the way that you speak about things. Like, then what happens? Then what do we do?
How you got me as president? You got me.
Because this bitch is talking about I'll vote for Sexy Red, and if Sexy Red ran my country, I'd like, if I wouldn't leave for Trump, but I would leave for that bitch. I don't give a fuck.
Honey, what do you think about that?
About
That's for everybody.
Saying that she's saying you would basically voting based off of his character. I did hear you say that, but a lot that I see when I follow you and I listen to your posts, and you educate me in certain things that I didn't know, and I would assume that a lot of them is based in fact. Some of them are based in theory, some of them are based in opinion. But what you did say today is yeah, you vote him. You think he's a disruptor. You like the fact that he's a disruptor, and the fact that you like his character. So
yes,
just compared to what in responding to what Dodge said, how do you feel about that? And how do you?
I'm sorry. One more tidbit, and I'm gonna be quiet again. This is what I want to say, honey. I am just to give a little backstory on me, because I don't know if you know much about me. I am not only am I just a moderate, I do lean a lot towards the right when it comes to certain things, which is what makes me a moderate. I'm not left, I'm not right, right? But one of my favorite things to do in my pastime is to watch Republican documentaries. So I know more about Republican policies than I do about Democratic policies. And I think Republicans are the funniest people in the fucking world, but I laugh at inappropriate things. But with that being said, I don't want it to come like framing like I'm anti-Republican, because I'm not that. So I just wanted to preface that with that, and then y'all could go on about your business.
Okay. So I do think Trump is entertaining, but that's not why I like him. I mean, he's always been entertaining, but I like the fact that it's two things. One, like I made a post about it, whatever, so I wasn't able to really go into more detail about it earlier. But like I said, he's a populist candidate, and the establishment is always against the populist candidate. The establishment was against Bernie. That's why he didn't win any of the primaries. He says that they were rigged against him. He said he was fighting the establishment just on the left side. Donald Trump fighting the establishment on the right side. The establishment rises up and attacks that man. That means that he's a representative of the people that establishment hates. That's what I mean about he's a disruptor. Like he's made them show their head. Like it woke me up from the Democrat Party illusion. Like that's what I like about him. I love the fact that he speaks to the press the way he speaks to the press. I love the fact that he's unapologetic, and all that type of stuff. I hate the fact that he is anti-establishment, because that means that only thing that you ever hear for an entire 4 years is going to be negative stuff, which further divides us and stuff. But I love the disruption that he caused to that entire network of the establishment. They can't help themselves but to attack and expose themselves. They lie on him over and over and over again, which when you study it shows you the media tactics on how they manipulate, which to me is very fascinating as a marketer. So, but I just love the fact that the guy disrupted things. Do I think he's the best for the Black community? I honestly don't know. I don't believe in politics and being good for the people specifically in that way. I think that it'd be best if the government got out of our fucking lives, to be honest with you, and stop trying to help us. It seems to always backfire. So I find it hard to just be like, yeah, I think we should be behind a politician for his policies and stuff. I think that we should stop looking to them for that type of help, and that we should just turn our shit inward and just focus on us and let that shit catch up. That's what I think. The way that our ancestors was doing it before they tried something different. That's what I think. So it's hard for me to say vote for this politician in that sense. I like the disruption because the Democrats have manipulated us for long enough, So that's what I like about it.
I agree with you
Melanie,
on that one.
You seem to be in thought at some point when I was watching Dodge speak and now Hunnit. Did you have a response that you wanted to give to any of that?
I'm forgetting what they said exactly. That I was like,
All right. Well, if you do remember,
if I remember, then I'll come back. I'm just forgetting what they said. That I was like,
Yep. Tron, you got somewhere else you want to go?
Wait, you didn't ask Red Pill.
Red Pill didn't answer, yeah.
What was the question?
Oh, that's right. That was for me because of the Donald Trump entertainment thing. That's right.
Yeah. So I have this question for the panel. I want to start with you, Hunnit, for obvious reasons.
Yo, Tron, can I ask a question real quick? I'm sorry. I really apologize. I know that you're moderating right now, but this is for Hunnit. He's been sitting. Everybody's been sitting patiently. Y'all are so. Listen. Y'all can argue with each other if y'all want. I don't give a fuck. Y'all ain't got to sit here and be all polite. Like y'all being mad polite on here. I want to start a fight.
You gonna come in here?
I want to start a fucking fight. Like y'all.
You quiet, it's a problem. You loud, it's a problem. We can't win.
This shit.
Brain match, Melanie. Brain match. You can never win.
This question is for Hunnit, and somebody asked, and I thought it was a good question. Especially when we talk about policies and we talking about Kamala. Somebody asked this question in the comments. Can you ask Hunnit to give his top 3 actions from Trump's last term that he agreed with or benefited from? What does he think Trump will do that he will benefit from? You mind answering that? You may have answers. I don't know.
Good question.
None of that stuff benefited me. None of his policies. I mean, I heard that he did opportunity zones. I own my business since 2009. I never needed no help. I heard that he did the First Step Act. Grateful for that. My cousin being incarcerated a lot. I've never been in jail. That didn't benefit me. So the only thing that really benefited me was the disillusion from the Democrats. That's what I love about it. It started me on a whole journey of waking up and seeing myself differently as a Black man in America, which helped me be more productive. It lifted this huge ass burden off my shoulders that I didn't even know I was carrying, to be honest with you. But when it left, I could clearly feel it. It's happened to me multiple times with other realizations and stuff. But that's what I'm grateful for.
What burden was that?
Yeah, that's my question.
Okay, so the first instance of that was when I saw the George Floyd thing, right? As a marketer, I look at those images in a different type of way. Now we've collected enough images to say, y'all only show us black men this happening to black men from white police officers. So that goes and makes me look up statistics. And once I see the statistics, it stops being a race issue and an American issue. Once it's no longer a race issue, I stop feeling hunted. Once I saw the actual numbers, then the number in my head shrank because the number in my head was much larger, which made me feel like I was living in a different type of world. Once I saw the actual number, my world changed, my reality changed. That lifted a huge burden off my back.
What numbers
So
did you
what you're saying is you did research and you started learning and you got smarter and you started realizing the bullshit that happens in this country because that only happens through education, right?
Basically, I would agree.
I love that. So the stupid fucking people in the world that don't read, don't write, don't do arithmetic, they're still voters. And that's a problem for me. Because again, me being the moderate that I am, and I'm also a capitalist, and I understand that, and I'm okay with who I am. I don't want these motherfuckers voting. And that's the Republican side of me that I was like, oh, so what about this test? Where's the test? I need a test for motherfuckers that understand that you know anything. If you can't tell me the 3 branches of government off the top of your head, maybe you should not participate in the same government I'm participating in. But I'm sorry. Let me go about my business.
Saying, Josh, but I think that the bigger issue then is education reform. Then that's the bigger issue.
As an educator of almost a decade, I have read some curriculum that's amazing. I think that the issue is that we do not have morals and values anymore as a country. And this is going to be my conservative side speaking, right? I think that we have lost morals and values. I think that
Which ones did we lose?
The morals and values things, simple things like discretion, time and place, the fact that in this community that we speak about, that we prop up inappropriate behavior and we don't itemize right and wrong. Like we think that everything is for everywhere at every time. There's too many of us that feel like, oh, because we're grown, can't nobody tell us nothing, can't nobody check us. Because I remember when we're talking about community, I remember that the old lady down the block that watched you grow up, if you was out of line, if your skirt was too short, if you was doing something that was out of pocket, she was going to check you. But nowadays, these kids don't have no fucking behavior. They don't have no brought up see. They mamas in them out in the club.
What's wrong with a short skirt?
Brought up see.
Time and place. I'm sorry. Again, this is my conservative side. Time and place. Because if my daughter wears a skirt and her hem is a little bit too short, she gonna have on some leggings up under there. You like, I'm still very Caribbean, still Southern black. Where you wear a skirt, you need to have shorts up under your skirt. Yeah. That's the conservative side of me. But these little girls nowadays, ain't nobody tell them that. So morals and values have lost us. We just do whatever the fuck. So with that being said, this is why I'm a moderate. So let me somebody show me the exam that niggas gotta take before they could vote.
Let me ask you a question. What is wrong with wearing a skirt without shorts underneath? What's wrong with that?
I know where you're going. I know Mel.
I know where Mel is going to, and I'm sorry. And this is just me. And this is the way that I was raised, and I feel like the way that I was raised was correct.
Then it's not.
And the problem is, you know what's wrong with it? You're showing too much. You're showing too much of your body. That's what's wrong with it. You're showing too much. For all of that, you should just go outside with your drawers on.
What harm does showing too much of your body?
I didn't say anything about harm. I'm talking about decorum.
I'm asking you the question. You go.
There is no harm. There is no harm. There is no harm. Because anything that can happen to you in a short skirt can happen to you in a sweatsuit. So we're not even going to play that game. So there is no harm. Like, the fact of the matter is,
there is that your
it's right or wrong.
The morality is not rooted in anything objective, right? Morality should be rooted in causing or not causing harm, right? Honestly, you think about it.
I don't believe that. No,
should be something that is not causing harm, right? You don't.
No, that's not true.
That's moral.
That's not true to me because
how do you define morality?
Because when you talk about morality, I think that's also something that is subjective, which is part of the problem. But when you talk about morality, for some people, murder is wrong. Period. You should never murder another human being. For me, there's a couple reasons why I might murder a motherfucker. That could be immoral to some people, but not to me. I believe in licensed gun ownership. You walk through my door, I'ma pop you in your fucking forehead, fuck a warning shot. I'm with all the shits. But what I'm saying is, the fact of the matter is, it's too many of us. We have too many different views that are too far reaching, and we're not gonna align. We're not gonna align on certain things.
Well, at the end of the day, this is how we align. Mind your damn business. If it's not harming me or anybody else,
you can't say that when you were just talking about community, because in community, nobody minds their business. We look out for each other.
You could be in community and you could respect somebody's autonomy to make decisions for themselves, as long as that decision is not harming.
And that's why we're not in community anymore. Everybody got too much autonomy.
Why must I tell someone what to do or not to do if that thing that they are doing is not causing harm? If the thing that you are doing is not causing harm, live your whole fucking life. I don't care. You're not.
That's not necessarily true, because harm is also perspective. Because a girl walking down the street with a super short, a girl walking down the street with a super short skirt and her ass hanging out the bottom. It don't bother me. It don't cause no harm to me. But if my 5-year-old is walking with me, then in her brain she thinks that that's appropriate, and now I have to go work backwards.
And you could tell
and be like, yo, you can't
that girl's
do
an
that.
adult, and when you an adult, you can do what you want. But you're a
Not
child,
mine.
and child appropriate is this. Very simple.
Not mine. Even when she's an adult, you're gonna put on some fucking shorts.
Very simple. That's very simple. And
I agree with your thought process. I'm just saying that I'm not raised that way. I'm at 35 years old. I don't even curse in front of my father. I will change my clothes before I walk in my daddy's house, depending on what I got on. If it's too short, too tight, whatever. I'm gonna wear that shit, but I'm gonna put on a jacket before I walk in my father's house, because I think that that's respect. For me, that's respect. And I'm sorry, I just think people do too much.
I'm against respectability politics, which is what you're pushing forth. Respectability politics.
I know you're progressive. I get that.
And again, like for me, if what you're doing is not causing anybody harm, I could care less. I don't care. You're not causing nobody harm. I'm talking about objective harm, psychological, physical harm, psychological or physical harm, verbal harm, whatever it is, right? I'm sure we all have an idea of some type of objective harm, right? Like, let's keep it a stack here. If it's not causing objective harm, live your whole life. That's none of my business. And I've had to do that myself. Like, and especially I live here in LA. I live where there are a lot of homeless folks. And sometimes they be doing wild shit. I be like, and then I'm like, you know what? If it makes you happy, and I keep it pushing, because they not harming nobody. They just being a little erratic. They in their own little bubble. They in their own little world. I don't know what's going on with them. You know what? You're not hurting nobody? Okay. I'm good. Like, I don't care. Do what you want. I don't care.
We have I think we have one, maybe two questions left. One that Melanie made sure to say, hey, we need to speak about this because this is a big deal out here in this political election. Trom, take us away.
Yeah, so Melanie, you did mention how Kamala's position on Palestine and Israel might have cost her some votes. And I want to ask the panel this: your next president, whoever that may be, what would you like for them to do in regards to the Israel-Palestine situation? What do you think needs to be done? What do you think of America's involvement or lack thereof? We'll start with you, Melanie.
Embargo, immediate sanctions. I think the United States, the UN just had a resolution where they are asking Israel to leave the occupied lands of Palestine and remove the walls of the apartheid state. And so basically, the occupation of Palestine been illegal. The UN is finally recognizing that. And they're basically saying anybody who's a part of the UN can support Israel in this continued occupation and this continued illegal occupation. Now, I feel like maybe before they could just do whatever, turn a blind eye, whatever, because of the allyship and their foreign policy. They need Israel in the Middle East because Israel is the United States' eyes in the Middle East. But we all know why they're the eyes in the Middle East: U.S. imperialism, U.S. colonialism, neo-colonialism, and wanting to siphon resources out of the Middle East. So they need Israel, right? We all know that. However, now that the UN is saying, hey, us as a collective are not supporting these things, now the US should just follow what the UN is saying. Arms embargo, immediate sanctions, whatever the UN and the ICJ is supporting against Israel. Because at this point, it is fucking ridiculous at this point. At this point, they just launched an attack in Lebanon. They killed 588 people in one day. That's nuts. That's absolutely fucking nuts. Civilians. Fucking putting bombs in pagers that are going off in civilian populations. That's fucking nuts, bro. That's dystopian at this point. And for the US to continue to support some shit like that, I'm gonna say this. US foreign policy is a direct representation of its policy here on the mainland. The way that they allow other states to treat other folks is how they're gonna treat us. And we see that shit every fucking day.
Now I might be not educated enough for this convo. When I hear about foreign policy and I see how the moves are being made from one country to the next, and how they're all kind of trying to align and how to push the US dollar down and push us out of supremacy or whatever, right? We're supposed to be the most powerful country. And a lot of people feel, from what I see, a lot of countries feel like we are the enemy, even if we come with a kind hand or we act like, we care about everybody else. It's all really about money. It's all about money, oil, and economics.
Well,
If
yeah,
we were
that's the problem. The U.S. has destabilized several countries,
Yeah,
several governments for its own
Right.
greed.
I do understand it, and I understand that. What I don't understand is, do you think that when the United States does move like that, it doesn't benefit us? Like, say the US dollar does tank, we go into depression, right? We go into an extreme depression. It really hurts and fucks up the entire United States. Millions of people die. Like these things happen, right? So do you think that the United States' allyship and the things that they do with foreign policy, if they stop doing that, Israel turns against us, we lose standing in other countries, we lose hold, whatever.
What countries?
What happens with us then?
What countries? Almost every country has turned on Israel. What countries?
You said almost every country. What?
Literally almost every single country is turning on Israel currently.
I think that when Israel turns on the United States is the issue. Is, as you said, they're our eyes over there. So what happens if we lose them and then now they provide support or whatever it is? Like I said, I'm not educated enough to know exactly what that thing is. But the American
Are you talking about like Briggs? Are you talking about like?
I am talking about Briggs. I'm talking about the Gaddafi thing when Obama killed Gaddafi because of that African currency that was trying to be made over there. When they're doing things like that to protect the United States from tanking, is it something that the United States population should support, or should we just believe in idealistic views of this shouldn't be happening? Because I'm caught in the middle. I agree. I don't think that what's happening in Gaza is correct. I'm trying to understand what the United States is supposed to do when they're trying to protect.
Do you think it is morally correct that they killed Gaddafi because they were afraid that the African nations were going to unite and finally take control of their own resorces?
No, as a citizen, I don't.
Exactly.
As a black person, I don't. Well, let me finish my point.
I'm
speaking. You asked me a question. Let me finish. No. Let me finish. When that happened, I do understand what the government is trying to not happen to the American dollar. Do I agree with it? Do I agree with politics, period? No. Do I think that, all right, they felt like their hand was forced to move in a certain way? I think that they felt like their hand was forced. Do I agree with it? No. As a citizen, we don't know what's going on with the CIA and all of this other shit that they be doing with the government. We don't know. But we just get up, we go to work, we have gas, we get eggs, and we're like, all right, y'all shouldn't be doing that. But we don't know what happens if they don't.
At the end of the day, U.S. imperialism, U.S. colonialism, and the destabilization of all these countries is so that the U.S. can remain the top power in the world. That is the goal.
USA.
But that is problematic.
We American. We're not supposed to have pride.
No, you should not have pride. Why? Because that comes at the expense of like the greater South, right? So like all these people who are dying all over the world, the shit that's happening in Haiti, the shit that's happening in Venezuela, Sudan, the Congo, Palestine, it's because the US does not know how to mind its fucking business. At the end of the day, they meddle into these things and then they end up killing thousands and almost millions of people. And so you think it's okay that I don't say that you generally speaking, but it's not okay just because you want to maintain power and dominance that you do something that affects millions of innocent people.
Do you not
That's
think that the
fucked
other
up.
countries? You don't think that the other countries are trying to have power and dominance?
No, I think a lot of those countries just want their own autonomy at the end of the day. Why does the US not think it's okay for other people to be just as powerful as them, have as much resources as them, have their own autonomy, have their own self-determination, their own idea of democracy, and then just work with those countries the way that they work with their other allies? Why?
Pill. I would love for you
Why
to
do
speak
they
on it.
only allow European nations to have their own autonomy? Why do they not allow African nations to have their own autonomy? Why do they not allow South American and Central American nations to have their own autonomy?
Because I want to take over. I want to be the best corporation in
Yes,
this
and that is
bitch.
horrible.
Fuck out of
Power
here.
domination, that's just death and destruction. That's all you're doing. It's like
It's like the new Rome.
your shit and be like, I'm stealing your shit because I want your house and I want your shit in your house, and because I want to maintain power and I'm my house next door to you. No, if I want your shit, Dash, I'm gonna be like, hey Dash, I would love for you to take this, and would I be able to have
Mel,
that?
you such a nice person. Can I ask you a
That's the way
question?
this
This
shit
is so
should work.
random. Can I ask
Hold
you a
on, hold
question?
on, hold on.
Are you a Harry Potter fan? I need to know.
No,
Are you a
I'm not
Harry
a Harry
Potter
Potter
fan?
Okay,
Damn. I just wanted to know what her house was. It's giving Hufflepuff.
Let me get an answer from Red Pill on what I said, because I know I've heard you speak about Obama and Gaddafi and that whole shit. Gaddafi, right?
Yeah.
Right name. Tell me what you think about what I was saying. I this is what I think. I can't say what I really know. I'm just like, this is my theory on things, but it's not something that I really have done the due diligence on. So what do you think about this?
What was the question though?
What happens if the United States did move in the idealistic, like say, hey, we don't protect that, we do move out of, we do stop supporting Israel, we did allow that African currency to flourish. What happens to the American people? I mean, to the Americans, and do you think that we did the right thing, or we're doing the right thing, like as far as government and politics? Don't forget, you got Russia, you got North Korea, you got all these other places that's trying to do things. If the United States say, all right, we chill, we're not going to do nothing, you might allow another country to rise. Like, I just want to know what y'all think about this.
I mean, at the end of the day, geopolitically, the chessboard is, it's a little more intricate than what we may just look at on the surface level. Israel is the cancer of Africa and also, the Orient and things of that nature, and especially to the Islamic world. There's no denying that. There's a lot of people behind Israel in terms of these banking cartels. Do you know the majority of people in Israel are Ukrainian? Like there's a lot that the ethnic, there's a lot of Ukrainians over there.
That's crazy. So that explains why we're aligned with Ukraine too.
Yeah, but it's also it has a lot of diverse ethnicities over there. The main people are the Zionists. That's what people may not be familiar with. It's not just Israelis in particular. It's the Zionist party. I think Netanyahu should be in jail. I think his cabinet needs to be held for war crimes and things of that nature. I think that the American government is complicit in a genocide that basically the whole world was witness to. I think karma is a motherfucker, and I just think that this is very well the telltale signs of a fallen empire. They in the game of chess, they are being cornered. Let's be clear. They lost the war of perception. Okay, they had a perception. They had a certain facade around the world before October the 7th. they showed their hands, or rather they showed their fangs, and they kind of like lost the war of perception. And once that happens, it took a lot of propaganda and a lot of years to build that up. So they can't necessarily go back to trying to be this fake democracy in the Middle East, because they're not seen as that anymore. They are imperialistic, and or USA is imperialistic in its endeavors overseas, like in the quote unquote Congo. You see what's going on in Africa right now with the revolutions. They're waking up. They're aligning themselves with Putin and whatnot. Um, the whole francophone that France, the part of Africa that France was controlling, has now been upended. They are nationalizing their assets. So it's a lot. It's a lot going on this chessboard. Henceforth, why the next 4 years is very important. Why people are turning to say they would rather have a strong man in office than a woman who is known for her cackle and not much else. You know what I'm saying? Especially dealing with foreign policy in a term where there are a lot of fires burning right now. It's not just one conflict, it's a lot of fires. Not to take anything away from her qualifications as a war general or as a commander in chief. It's just that people are saying we have not seen that from her. And we've seen the way that Donald Trump moves around, albeit him being a character and things of that nature. He still hit when in character, he's still able to give results. And Americans right now would rather they would rather they want results. You know what I'm
They would
saying? They
rather
want to
Trump
level up.
support Israel than Kamala support Israel. Is that what you're
Huh?
saying?
Say it again.
I said they would rather Trump support Israel than Kamala support Israel. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I mean, both of them supporting Israel is still going to exasperate more conflict. Trump going in, he's going to push for the temple. He's going to push for he's going to destabilize it faster than a Kamala. I'm saying a Kamala. I'm sorry, for real, and it's not intentional. It would be a more protracted type of thing. I think that he would kind of exasperate things faster. This is an undeniable conflict because they want to they want to sacrifice those 3 heifers. They want to build a temple. There's certain things that they have to fulfill in their book. This is more political. I mean, this is more religious than it is political. You have these evangelicals over here. You have these Christian Zionists in America who are aligning themselves with everything that Israel does because of biblical prophecy. It has nothing to do with politics, and they're mixing politics in it. But what they're doing is they're basically moving on different, for different agendas.
Trom, we got enough time for one last short question.
Before we jump to that, Tahoe, sorry to interrupt you. I really want to hear from Hunter on the same question. And then I want to jump to Trav's comment, if you don't mind, if that's where you were going. But Hunter, I want to give you the floor, if you don't mind, Tahoe. What would you like to see out of the next president, whoever that may be, in regards to the Israel-Palestine conflict? And what are your overall thoughts on America's position, or where we should be positioned in the Middle East conflict?
Okay. So I've watched like debate after debate after debate from people, on both sides, going back and forth, people that I thought were intelligent on both sides, presenting very well, very well presented cases or whatever. And at the end of the day, I still honestly don't know. Like, it seems like typically what you get is always a good versus evil type of dynamic. I don't really know that that's the case in any of these situations, like the Russia, Ukraine. I don't know if any of these people are actually good versus evil. I think that one might be more expedient for America versus the other. And at the end of the day, when my cousin goes out and does what he has to do to make money for his family, they're not complaining. So that's kind of how I feel about it. At the end of the day, I want them to take care of us, and if that means not sending money, stop sending money. If that means send money, send money. That's what I want at the end of the day. I think that the conversation is more nuanced than just good versus evil. And, sometimes evil be good. So that's how I look at it. I really don't know.
Big on that.
I don't know if it's any good or evil on that, for real, for real.
Your answer actually kind of runs right into what Trav is saying, where he said, I think most Americans don't give a damn about what's happening outside of our four walls. What do y'all think is the most pressing issue in this election for the average American? Like, what do you think the average American cares about most when it comes to who their next president's going to be?
Grocery prices, inflation,
that money.
rent,
That money.
That's what they want.
gas, all
Yep.
the things that go into our capitalist pockets that we can't spend our money on what we want to spend it on because we're trying so hard to survive.
Yeah, the
I
economy,
say that with my floor to ceiling windows.
definitely women's bodily autonomy. For sure, the shrinking middle classes goes back into the economy, healthcare, prices of healthcare, big one.
Immigration.
Huh?
Immigration.
Big one. I don't think immigration is as big as the economy though. I think it's like economy, bodily autonomy. I feel like immigration is about fourth. Like third might be infrastructure, things like that.
I think the what should be number one that nobody cares about is eradicating Leave No Child Behind, because these niggas is not okay.
These kids is not okay. But I've seen an adult. I had them filling out a form the other day, and the way he was writing, I was like, and I went to his page because I just had to clarify. Nigga's a grown ass man with gray hair. The way he was writing, I was like, no way, this nigga got through life like this, bro. It's no fucking way. And if that happened then, because I remember back then, they had the gifted classes, they had the regular classes, and then they had the motherfuckers that was behind. Right. Now this is everybody who just doesn't get it. We just gonna get you through not getting it and pass you off to the next motherfucker. And I'm like, that's crazy that's what our youth is doing right now. That being said, we have 3 minutes left.
I wanted to clarify a few things.
Yes.
The bill that you said, what is it? The Next Step Act? Is that the one it's called again? I'm forgetting the name.
Which one? Trump's bill?
Trump's bill.
What was that?
What came before Trump? First Step Act.
The First Step Act.
The First Step Act. Yeah. So a lot of people call that like Trump's First Step Act, but that bill was written by Hakeem Jeffries.
Shout out to New York, big Brooklyn, not the little.
I just wanted to clarify that because everybody keeps on saying, and then Trump did this for. No, he didn't. That was written by Hakeem Jeffries, and it was a bipartisan bill. Congress passed it. Trump signed it. It's the same thing that happened with that, with the money. Everybody's like, Trump gave us money. Trump ain't give y'all shit. Pelosi gave that. Trump signed it. Like, we fucking for real.
Trump, very quick last question. Please get it off. We got 2.5 minutes left.
Thank you for that clarification, Melanie. So I'm going to ask one last question, and then Tahoe will wrap us up. So first, I want to say I appreciate all of the dialogue. This was a great conversation. All of y'all are brilliant. Whether we agree or disagree, we can't say that y'all are not brilliant. Like, great conversation. That being said, this is kind of a two-part question.
It can't be, nigga. You have 2 minutes.
Okay, fine. I'll make it a very simple question. Just a prediction. A prediction I want from y'all. Who do y'all think will be our 47th president? Who do you think is going to win this election?
Prediction for me, I'm going with Kamala. They're going to disrupt the algorithm. I think overall, just based on how things are running right now, she's going to be the one that's going to get selected. So that's my prediction.
Okay.
Big upset.
Yeah, I don't think it's enough of a black shift of votes really to put Trump in office. I mean, it was a big shift last time. This one's even bigger, but 20%? I don't know if that's really going to do it. So we'll have to see.
What's your answer?
Oh, I think Kamala's probably going to win, to be honest with you.
You think Kamala's going to win?
Yeah. I said it right?
Yeah, you did. Melanie.
Get your president name right.
Oh, sorry. Hold on, Melody. I ain't muted. Hold on. My
I
bad.
think it's really very much in the air. I do think that after that last debate, Kamala does have a small edge. But it really is a toss-up. If Trump wins Georgia and North Carolina, it's over for her. And he is probably going to win both of those states.
It's looking like Trump. He's losing in North Carolina after what the hell happened the other day? Something happened the other day, and her edge rose actually past him.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But with her losing Michigan, and she has a lead right now in Pennsylvania. Nevada, Arizona is in the air. Wisconsin's in the air. Trump might win Georgia and North Carolina, and if he does that, right now, their Republicans are at like 219 plus 32. That's
251.
251. So all he needs is Wisconsin and like one other state, or Michigan. And Michigan is 15 electoral votes, and that's why I said she.
Yeah, we lost you on your car door open, bro.
I turn my car back on.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we lost Melly. I think for a second. I definitely think that Kamala is going to win. I think the shift is happening, and she's gaining momentum as she goes. I think Trump is. I think his campaign fell apart when she came in. They had to shift their thing, and I'm excited to see this happen. But I am very aware. I'm listening to everything that y'all are saying about the candidates, both candidates. You know what I'm saying? I'm not just like, oh, she's the greatest person ever. But I definitely am happy to see a black woman in office, and also not Trump. So on both ends. Dodge, what you got? You good?
It's Kamala for me.
That shit.
You said what?
That camera, like
the camera, right?
This
shit is OD. Yeah, I think it's gonna be Kamala. I also don't necessarily disagree with Hunnit and Red Pill. When it comes to the disruptors, I'm just a very logical thinker. I don't like to move based off of emotion when it comes to things of this stake. So for me, I'm just like, are we being real, or is this something that could really happen, or is this going to be a complete shit show like the last time we saw it happen? I would love that if people started thinking more in a 3-party or even 4-party system thinking. I would love for the Electoral College to get the fuck out of here and it just be based off the popular vote. I would love for a lot of things to happen. But being a realist, I'm just like, or maybe a pessimist. I don't see it. Maybe not in my lifetime. Maybe in my child's.
Trom, what you got?
I think Kamala is going to win. This is a very great convo, and I learned a lot. And I'll tell you why I learned a lot, because I'm probably voting 3rd party, and like Melanie alluded to, because she's in California, I'm in New York. We're in a swing state. We have the liberty to kind of vote our heart, right? Because I don't.
We're
vote
not
my
in
heart.
a swing state.
Hold on a second, Sean. Mel, I keep muting your mic because I can hear the feedback when people are talking. So I'm just. Yeah.
I thought it was just tweaking. I was like, why is this tweaking?
Yeah, that's me doing it because I can hear the feedback. Go ahead, Sean. Close out.
Yeah, thanks, Dodge. We're not in a swing state, so I can vote with my heart. However, I like to vote normally strategically, but it is a strategic vote. I was thinking about the Green Party. I've looked up Dr. Cornel West, and I've listened to y'all's opinions, and I'm gonna give him my ear as well. But I was thinking more Green Party, and it's kind of like what Melanie alluded to. I think Kamala and Democrats in general in the future need to pay more attention to folks like us that are tired of the democratic system. And if enough of us don't vote Democrat, then they'll have to pay attention. And if we create those stances in areas where it's not a swing state, Kamala will still get the win, but they'll be on notice that people have spoke. We want reparations. We want better foreign policy. We want all of these things. So that's my thoughts.
Yo,
I
thank
thought
y'all
we
for
agreed
coming
that we
out.
wasn't getting reparations.
Thank
I
y'all
never
for coming out today.
You're
It's been a
Jamaican.
great episode. Really
me
appreciate y'all
personally.
all for being here. This is so shameless. Y'all already know. Look up the book that Melanie was talking about. Figure out who is in your small shits, the small elections. And you know what I'm saying? And do your fucking due diligence, man. Also strategize. This has been a great episode of So Shameless. You can find 100 Days of Summer. That is HUNITDAYS of Summer on Instagram and I believe TikTok. I believe Instagram. Hey, you on TikTok as well?
Yeah, TikTok and YouTube.
You can find Red Pill, PHILMORELAND. That's Phil Moreland, Red Pill.
Phil_Moreland.
Phil_Moreland. And you can find Melanie, MELANYMOVEZ. She does great videos on Instagram. Love y'all, bro. And
Peace.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate y'all.
don't hang up.